And we're live on YouTube as well. 50 people were waiting, so the viewing figures have gone down already. Feels like we're on free fall.
We're big in India now. You need to get us up the list.
We need to get the viewers of that shootout pool on free sport.
Did we not have near record figures on our podcast this week?
We had 5,000 downloads last week.
Oh, I wouldn't have given the number out, but you have done that.
Well, the people can see it anyway because
we haven't gone down for the playoffs, then, is what I'm saying. No. Crowds haven't gone down for the playoffs.
No, they still work because it's free. If we charge people to watch it, they won't pay.
Okay, fair enough.
Our patrons in the pit.
All right, have you done that? By the way, hold on. Before we start, there's a little bit of business that needs to be conducted here. So, come on, in your own time.
Well, because at the start of the season, you remember Wakefield? We used to be good, but we're rubbish again now. It's almost so we can get rid of our top try scorer. And I said at the start of the season we finished above Cass, and it just so happens that Castleford managed to get lucky this year. Their only player that was injured is the one they're selling to Leeds. And Leon, our listener, said, "Well, I bet you will." Anyway, I've got to wear a Cass shirt.
So you're wearing a Cass shirt? How did he know I send you one that fit?
Cass when they were good look. It's when they used to wear amber as opposed to orange. This one's to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the war or something. I don't know.
All right.
81st.
Well, you look quite good in that, Rich. Actually, I reckon. Yeah.
So where's for the women's grand final?
Does it feel any comfortable at all?
What do you think to that, Ledge?
I'm not going to kiss the badge, really.
A Wakefield fan wearing a Cass jersey. Disgraceful.
Yeah. Correct.
Disgraceful.
Correct.
What?
Right, well done. Let's go through the old results. You get in touch on the comments. If you haven't been to a game this week and you normally go to a game but you didn't go to a playoff game, let us know why. Is it a cost thing, time thing? What is it? A lot of people moaning about crowds but offering no solutions. And I think Bilko, our friend from Wigan, has come up with some good points. We'll have a chat about that in a bit. Get in touch on the comments on YouTube, via Facebook, and of course subscribe to our great podcast. If you are listening, watching, share it with your friends, let them know we're here. Tell them to get in touch. Right, well done Wigan, they beat Salford. Great game, really enjoyed that one. Commiserations to Salford, but they now do or die with Cass, who beat Warrington. What the hell has gone wrong at Warrington? 8 defeats in 9. We'll have a look at that. Well done to Toronto, brushed aside really. Disappointing to lose yesterday, and the York City Knights' fantastic season is over. Featherston, who I think are going to be in Super League next year.
Big
postcode, we're taking over.
I think Featherston are going to win the grand final. I think they've got it in them. I think there's a bit of something about them. They're going well. Maybe all them Leeds players have rubbed off. The playoffs, winning it. We'll see. Newcastle beat Workington, who turned up with 14 men. Well done, lads. And Oldham beat Doncaster. So Doncaster take on Newcastle next week, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I've completely lost how the League One playoffs were, but yes they play each other again after.
Yes. All right then. So we'll go with that. Right. Well done, Ledge. You fitting well again? You're all right?
Well, I'm better than what I was last week, but also as well, I've got a confession because I've not been well, and do you know what, lads? The missus has been away for 8 days. And I've been poorly. I've not been able to go out.
Nobody's been able to bring you soup.
I've not been able to go out, have a few pints, eat what I wanted because I couldn't taste the bloody well thing. I've had a miserable week, fellas. The missus has been away for a week, and I've been miserable. But now I'm back. I'm getting back to form from there. But what do you reckon to that?
Can I just,
what do you reckon to that?
I know it's terrible. Isn't it? I want to tell you something. Anyway, I was in Lee last week. I was in Lee, and I went to the Morrisons.
You were in Toronto yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I was in Lee.
Done well to fly.
I was in the well, it's business class. I was in the Morrisons at the side of the ground. Woman comes for some petrol, gets out, she's got a dressing gown and slippers on. Seriously, putting petrol in a car. What the hell's going on here?
A grey dressing gown.
Dressing gown, full pyjamas,
a grey one,
and slippers on.
A grey one.
I'm like, there'll be petrol all over the floor, and you've got your slippers on.
No, listen, mate. There's an art to it. I'll show you one day.
It's alright.
I'll show you one day. But first of all, as well, speaking to Phil after last week's show, I just want to say thanks to all the listeners and viewers about the concern about myself last week, and I'm getting back there. I'm going to get back in 200%. But I must say, fellas, again, repeat myself. I've had a miserable week. I've not been out. I've not had a pint.
Console yourself with a cookie.
I think a lot of the listeners were rather hoping you wouldn't pull through. I mean, that's just how I read the comments.
Well,
I made them wrong.
Well, listeners, little mate here now, he's full of it. So I'm going to get it back.
First big transfer of the close season. I've got his cold.
Free transfer.
We got a 1-star review on iTunes, thanks to you, Scully.
A 1 star?
Yeah.
Can we
So
dock
fine,
his
so
pay?
fine.
Can we dock his pay?
What does that mean? One star
Well,
item.
It's like, you know, you give yourself, you consistent 8 out of 10, that's what you always tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the listeners
Yeah.
and the viewers can mark it out of 5 on Apple
Yeah.
podcast. Just mark it out of 5. Mike.
We'll just mark it 5.
It's,
Most do.
On the
to
Brian
be fair.
McDermott scale of 2 to 9, Richard's got a scale of 4 to 5. If you can vote somewhere in that region, it does help.
you know, like when you get an Uber and you see your driver.
Uber? You don't know what a bloody Uber is.
Oh, our rating is 4.7 stars out of 155. It was higher, but here is normal human via Apple Podcasts. 1 star. Snotty snorting idiot is the headline. If you're ill, take a day off. It's horrific to listen to an intimate podcast. Is it?
Oh, right. You try and do the best for the team and you get slagged off for it.
Say one for the team and you get
for the team and you get hammered.
And you might as well not turn
With a backdrop of snot and phlegm. You are unprofessional at the best of times, but this is a new level.
Who said that?
Normal human.
Who said that?
I don't know. They hide behind it. They don't put the name on.
Oh, do they not? Yeah, well, let me know who you are. Let me know who you are. Eh?
We can't threaten the list.
Snot and
Bad,
phlegm
it's
is
bad enough Richard telling him to go listen to something else without you starting threatening people.
I tried that this week and I wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
Just got
Snot and phlegm
silence.
is our new halfback partnership.
Silence is better. Apparently,
Yeah.
Chris says I look like Craig Hubie. You can do your own lines at home on that one.
Fits well, that.
It does fit well. It's just worrying, isn't it?
Rich, will you be allowed back in the Wayfield ground now you put a Castleford shirt on?
Brad Davis was allowed back in. Alright.
Richard Shorrock and Brad Davis.
You can see the
We
scenario.
do have people questioning your voice, Mark Wilson.
Oh, get sod off.
What
Why?
posh?
Lee Webb. He sounds like my mum putting on her posh phone voice.
By the way, legend, do I owe you some money or something? I thought I'd settled up with you last week.
Right.
You said something nice about me yesterday on social media. I nearly cried. But we're not going into that.
No. Well, listen. Let me
I just
say.
wanted to say thank you.
No.
for saying
Hey,
something.
listen. Not a problem whatsoever. But one thing for sure, and I say the message what my mate sent me. You say totally genuine, and also as well, mate. Let me just say this, right? Let me just say this.
No.
I'm not here to promote anybody. But I just want to say one thing. If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say it. There we go.
Thank you.
There we go.
There you go.
So there you
but
go.
I have had a lot of people calling me Hyacinth Bouquet, etc.
I'm going to sell some t-shirts.
Bouquet resident.
Bouquet Wilson.
I'm going to make some money.
What are we doing?
We're selling t-shirts.
Oh,
You can get 2 England t-shirts. What are they? Ready for the Great Britain tour. Or England versus Jamaica. 2 for £10 using the discount code Mile High Stadium until midnight tonight at mascobrowns.com.
Mile High Stadium.
Your home of international rugby league merchandise. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's their title.
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
Been in rugby league for so long.
Is that it? Have we done now?
Yes. I've been told that I've got to leave the shirt on. A bet's a bet.
Yeah, he's got to wear it. He has to wear it.
Where's it could have had to watch the rugby union or something?
Yeah. Well, at least I haven't got Luke Gale on the back. 'Cause if you had, you'd have to throw
Well, I'm
him in
going to
the
say,
bin.
yeah, and get it in Leeds.
Yeah.
colours.
So
See, I'm not wearing a Leeds
Luke
shirt.
Gale got to Leeds then, boys. What do we make of this? It's going to happen.
Well, I said a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? He's got unfinished business. He came through the Leeds system, the Leeds Academy. Didn't work out. Obviously, he's done all the apprenticeship down in London and then gone to Cass. Been brilliant for Cass. Leeds are chasing a quality halfback. Luke Gale, is he a quality halfback? Yes, he is. Big question mark. How fit is Luke Gale? Obviously, they'll be going through the protocol with the medical to making sure that he is. But if the medical's okay, he's still got plenty to offer. So it'll be on 2 sides. Castleford will be getting a lot of money.
Won't be a lot.
Well,
There's only a year of his contract.
it'll be
Won't be a lot.
well, it'll be over £100,000 anyway. So that's a nice figure for Castleford, and the services what they've had from Luke. And it's a nice business by Cass. If Cass get Richardson, 2 quality halfbacks together, blending over a bit of time. And as I say, Luke Gale,
Everybody wins.
unfinished business at Leeds.
Leeds will get a dispensation because he's a homegrown player, having come through their academy, so that'll save them some money on whatever it is they're paying out. So it sort of works for everybody. Obviously, the elephant in the room will be what happens to Richie Myler, because presumably he would be expected to either move on or sign somewhere else.
Get out of the way.
So have I been agreed upon that Richie Myler wasn't the best of signings for Leeds?
No.
No.
Well, where's he going
only
to
in your
go?
mind.
Where's he going to go?
Well, Rugby Union apparently are interested. The Ospreys.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
But I don't know what.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll put it another way to them, Phil. Has Richie Myler been a success at Leeds?
Have Leeds played to the strengths of Richie Myler?
No, I'm not buying into that. I'm asking the question: has Richie Myler been a success at Leeds?
What I would
To
say.
take over the Danny Maguire role, organisation,
It was never going to be
creativity,
that role
support
because
player.
he isn't Danny Maguire. But when they got Robert Louis in, he looked like the kind of player that was a real success at Warrington and at Castleford.
Right. Okay. We did
So-
a headmaster's report on the teams. Headmaster's report now, Richie Myler. 2 seasons. What do you give him out of 10?
Well, first season player of the year, whether that says how the rest of the team were playing and got back in.
Yeah, but
England.
Richard
Got
Chorley
back in England.
was second on that.
Yeah. Well, till he did his ankle, any amount of potential.
How many out of 10 for Richie Myler?
7.
7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bonkers.
Let's move on. We need to save Phil's voice for the important bits. He's already croaking his lad. Let's have a look at what happened on the field then this week. We'll start off in Super League. Wigan, 18-12 winners over Salford. Legend Salford, really good. Just came up short in maybe a bit of big game experience told from Wigan.
Well, we were always questioning that, weren't we? To be honest with you, from there. But I'll tell you what, Salford didn't look as though they hadn't played semi-final football before. They looked as though they'd been part of it for the last 6-7 years. How they embraced that, how they played, how they got ripped into Wigan, and totally agree. After the game, what Ian Watson said, at times they just wasn't smart enough at the important times of the game, and also that is called experience. So now they've got that experience from there. But I'll tell you what, Wigan knew they was in with a game. It was only the Wigan's DNA, knowing what the experience is all about, the scrambling defence, which kept Salford out. So Salford were fantastic, didn't have the experience, wasn't smart enough at important times, but I tell you what, they were excellent. And one thing for sure, I'm so much looking forward to that game against Castleford on Thursday night. Quality play from Salford. Wigan, we know what we're going to get from Wigan this time of the season. Business end, quality players, experience, know what to do at vital times in the game. Yeah, they're happy enough. 18-12, they'll be happy with that. And the match on to St Helens.
One of the games of the season.
Yeah,
which I wasn't expecting before because I like the top 5. I think it's by far the best format we've got. There's a flaw in it which we'll come to later, which is one of the reasons I think why it affects attendances. But the game that you would think wouldn't have as much riding on it is the game where both teams get a second chance. Not at all. This was full-blooded from minute 1. And if you were a neutral, I think just a wonderful 80-minute watch. Just sit back and enjoy 2 teams throwing everything at each other. I think there are a couple of things that struck me. Salford had to score in that opening 20 minutes. We said, I think, last week that if they were going to win and if they were going to trouble Wigan, they had to get ahead. And if they got ahead, they're so unpredictable that could have troubled Wigan. And they played really well in that opening 20 minutes, but they couldn't find any points. And there were just a couple of occasions, like the Inu offload, which you just can't do in playoff football. That became a 12-point turnaround that so nearly had Seo gone in the corner, and then they look up after that set of 6 and they've conceded 6 points. So it's little things like that that turn it. The 2 other things, one you mentioned, scrambling defence. The last 10 minutes, Wigan were absolutely sensational.
Absolutely.
Because Salford, I think, decided we may as well get the kitchen sink out because we've got nothing to lose. And there wasn't a blade of that grass that Wigan didn't somehow cover. And if one guy wasn't going to get there, somebody was going to.
Wonder attack.
Somebody won the t-shirt.
Yeah, wonder attack. Move on. We'll leave it there. It's all right.
But the other thing was the performance of Morgan Smithies.
Yes.
And I know a lot.
72 tackles.
I know a lot's been made about how are these things calculated.
That's a season's worth for you.
Yeah, that's a career.
72.
72
Brought the
tackles
record.
in 62 minutes.
I didn't make 72 tackles until I school.
That
72 tackles in a game.
72 tackles, and it wasn't the whole game. He was off for 18 minutes. But the thing, however you measure a tackle, and I get that, sometimes we need to be very positive about certain stories, and we should just celebrate this for what it is. And some people go, you can't count third man in. And however it's calculated, it's the same for everybody. He did 72 tackles. That is astonishing. Now, I think if we're serious about social media and what the sport should be doing to promote stars, which is something that Robert Elston said was going to be top of his priority.
Robert Elston said a lot of things aren't armed.
We had to flood, we being the game, not just us. I mean, I I put something out because I was just in awe of that. But the actual Betfred Super League official social media, from the minute that game finished and that stat became available, she's just been going, you want to know who this guy is, you want to see what this bloke's just done, here's a clip of 5 of his top tackles, and we should have remorselessly. Rugby Union at the moment, and I'm not comparing like with like, but one of the criteria they're using to judge teams in the World Cup is, oh, England made 70 tackles in 80 minutes. Morgan Smith is beating them on his own. We have to be cleverer about how we promote. That is just the most astonishing feat.
It is. It is. What do you make of the game, Rich?
It was exciting from what I heard on the radio. I saw the first half and I had to go out. But what battle from Salford, and I guess the biggest people come out with credit are the Salford fans who made plenty of racket.
No idiots either.
No,
Their flares this week,
none of
which
that
was
rubbish.
good. Great support. You have to-
Plenty of noise. I understand a certain Forty20 magazine columnist actually paid to stand with her Salford brethren, and whatever the female equivalent of brethren is.
Sisterhood.
Sisterhood. So hooray for Salford. I can't wait for Thursday night. It's going to be a cracking atmosphere, isn't it? Because Castleford, for all those buses, for all their fans to go over on the Thursday night at the M62.
Up to 900 already.
Are they
Yeah,
good? Yeah, good.
So they'll pack out that stand and Salford will be there making plenty of noise. I guess this is the thing with the tenders, isn't it? We know for this game there's going to be plenty of interest because we know it is do or die. And someone sees it's going to come to an end. Looking forward to it. And Salford, they ran them close, didn't they?
Yeah.
Ran them close, and that bodes well for a potential meeting again in a couple of weeks.
The issue for Salford is, will Jackson Hastings be fully fit? I'm sure he'll play, but clearly he posted some social media after the game with a patch over his eye and the need to go and see a specialist. Now I don't know if that's all part of, again, mind games.
Yeah, I don't know
interest
about that. I don't know.
I-
He's
I
come
am-
out, in fairness to Hastings, he's come out and he said, oh, no, there were no malice at all.
I am surprised at the try that he scored, which if you're a Wigan fan, you must have been there going, don't want to cheer this, but he's going to be playing for us next year.
Yeah.
I thought he did take one across the head from
Club.
Tony Club, who came in a bit late.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that hasn't been referred to the discipline.
That'll be great training. Hi Jackson, I'm Tony, I'm the guy who smacked you on the head and put you in the eye last time I saw you.
You didn't see me because I was in the eye.
Jackson Hastings will sort that out when he gets a Wigan player, don't worry about that.
He scored a try that got them back in it. I mean, he's going to win the Man of Steel, isn't he? He's
Yes.
got to do, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't see another candidate.
Yeah,
Him or Watts, I think, for me, are the only two.
he'll be in the top 3, won't he, to be honest with you, from there. But I think with all the 5, well, I think you take Blake Austin out now, to be honest with you, wouldn't you? But when you talk about that, you talk about how well Watts is playing, he's got to be a shooting answer for Great Britain. We'll talk about Cass's performance, at Warrington, I guess, later on. But yeah, Jackson Hastings, he nearly won the game by himself, didn't he, at times? His organisation, his creativity, and what again, when I talk about Arpax, what I like about him is, and it makes me laugh when they say, oh, well, he's playing with his eyes up and he's playing with his head up. And well, that's what you're supposed to do. That is what, if you play with your head down, I'm going to watch things.
Did you surround it with all the big front rowers like he does? Because he just seems fit. Ian Watson must be going, whoa, no, don't do that. But he does, doesn't he? He just runs into
Well,
them.
yeah, well, at times he gets himself a little bit tight around the ruck area. Whether that's a little bit of frustration, this sort of thing, I don't really know. But overall, he's he's a leader, isn't he? And the way he's going,
What I liked about
it's going to be
Salford,
very interesting for Castleford. And Newton Truman as well. It's going to be a good experience by playing against him on Thursday night.
the thing about Wigan is they clearly are one of these teams that meticulously do their homework on their position. And although we had a very good game and made a lot of metres, Josh Jones wasn't as effective because he was double teamed.
Yeah.
So every time he got the ball, they knew he was going to come back inside, and Wigan made sure that you couldn't fault him for his work rate and the number of
but
carries.
Never really
but he
like
never made a clean break like he has done
most
most of the season.
Yeah.
Salford found a way of saying, right, well, if that avenue's closed, we'll find another one. And that's why I think Hastings is such a good player.
I thought the other second row, George Griffin, was sensational. I thought he was excellent. But also as well, I didn't really know this, and it was mentioned on the telly the other night. And when you look at all the Salford players, this is the side that nobody else wanted.
Yeah.
You look at this side.
Yeah, it is.
All the teams where
It is,
nobody else wanted, and so again, I think the plaudits what the coach Ian Watson has got to say, not just for his coaching point of view, but again his man management. By the way, he gets a tune out of his players from there, and it's absolutely staggering when you look at this Salford side and other Super League sides and other clubs. You know, with the Championship, didn't even want these players.
And they're going to have to do it again next year because they're signing people like
Yeah,
Kevin
some
Brown.
decent
Yeah,
players.
they're
I
some
think,
decent
Salford.
players, yeah.
All right, they're losing the best player in Super League in Jackson Hastings.
And
but
there's
they're
one
some
of
good
the other
players.
best ones in Josh Jones as well. I think
Yeah.
he has been really good.
Is he going to Hull?
And
Yeah.
George Griffin's going to Castleford.
Right, okay. Right.
So the guys that you're picking out as being their best players are the ones that won't be there next. Bibby's going to.
But when I look at that, then with Josh Jones on a point, with the way the Hull are playing, that could be a backward move for him because how is he going to shine in that side? Because there's no creativity there from the halfbacks. They don't play the wide second rows by trying to put them through the gaps because they can't do it. It'll be interesting season
We'll
for Josh
see.
Jones.
Yeah,
eh?
we'll
yeah,
see.
it will. But
We'll
Salford, sensational, absolutely. But we'll give it again to Wigan, and I think we've said it now for the last 6 or 7 weeks. It's going to be a Saints Wigan grand final from there, and it's just in their DNA, isn't it? You've got to applaud what they do. Got to, whether it's attractive or whether it's not, but it's that DNA what they have, that scramble what they have for each other. I know Lachlan again when he comes on, he's just a warrior. He just steadies everything, doesn't he?
Him and Lulawai,
Brilliant.
who again
Brilliant.
must have cut at least 3 Salford players in half.
And they won the Academy Grand Final again.
Yes,
They did.
Again.
they did. Well done
They've
to
got
them.
this production line of players they can just.
Oh,
in the
mate,
team.
you know, I mean, you mentioned Smithy. They've just got such
Smithers,
good
yeah.
So
talent.
why doesn't everyone else copy Wigan?
Alan's
Can I ask a question? Why
Yeah.
didn't Gildart get in the Super League Dream Team?
Because it was picked by him and his mates.
Gildart is,
He
He's
didn't
a
have
threat.
six
He's a
for
real
me, he's
threat.
such a good. I like him as a player.
Yeah,
I
but
do like
Conrad
watching him
Hull
play. There's
was
not many
dancing and
people
stuff.
could have scored that try. He
Well,
scored.
he'd already scored it before he received the ball.
Yeah.
His footwork was so good that before it landed in his hands, Chris Wellen was going, I've no idea where this bloke is.
Yeah.
It's anti-Wigan, pro-Leeds bias by the Man of Steel panel.
Hold on, I didn't pick Conrad Hill. My centres won the Guama and Percival. So I told you what my team was last week.
Pro-Saints bias. by
So
the Man of
oh
Steel
yeah, I
panel.
got flagged off 12. That was
Good.
I had too many Saints players. Hold on, they just won the league. They just won the title by 16 points, and too many Saints players.
They've lost 3 games, and 2 of those out
Yeah.
of the team you picked didn't play probably. So they've lost 1 game.
Oh,
didn't
don't
they?
start that debate again.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
do
Is,
that.
is he due back this week? The head shaker as well for Wigan this week.
Yes. Well, what did we make of that?
One game he got.
There was a
sorry.
penalty awarded by Robert Hicks for, I think it was actually Gildart who patted someone on the head. I like to see it, great, get rid of it, but I understand it happened the other way and it didn't. So again, if you're going to do it for one, you've got to do it for all. That's not an anti-Wigan thing. It's a bit pedantic. I don't like it. Don't do it.
Well, do you know
So
which?
it's sporting. So
Call,
it's-
give him a bit of dinner,
Well, listen,
give him some abuse verbally, but don't.
Do you know? Well, yeah, but do you know how that stops? By the court saying to the player, "Don't be doing this, else you're going to get fined."
Well,
Simple as that. It'll get
Quite
slapped.
quickly it'll stop it. If in a big game you do it, and like happened, they would have had the ball
Yeah,
attacking, they
yeah,
would
but
have defended.
That's
the
why I
ball.
think a penalty is so important, because in a game that is close and possession based, if your teammates are looking at you going, what the hell have you just done?
Exactly.
You put us under pressure.
It needs
Yeah,
to
yeah.
stop though.
Of course it does.
That's the way
Absolutely,
it'll
it's not part of the game.
That's
It's
the
not part
way
of the
it'll
game.
stop.
It's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's not.
It's-
And I thought Robert Hicks refereed.
Because I tell you, if it keeps happening, Sunday the next morning we'll be getting the tea put back in because Sunday will just lose it and they'll flatten them. Simple as that.
Yeah,
They will.
no, you're not the only professional that said that to me.
Of course, there will be. There will, because you don't want to be belittled on the rugby league field. It's bad enough as it is if somebody lines you up and smashes you and all this sort of thing, failing what have you. But there's nothing worse than being belittled as a sportsman. I can reassure you. And if it happens, somebody just go, oh, naff to it. If I'm going to get 4 matches, I might as well do it properly. And he'll be getting 16 put back in his job the next day, and he'll deserve it as well if he does it.
Well, so right, let's get through some social media.
Rommel's saying, you can guess who he supports. St George Aurora. He says, come on guys, is Watts better than Walmsley and Thompson? Because obviously he said Watts for Great Britain.
You know, more than 2 props.
Yes.
In
That's
the
what I'm
session.
saying. Yeah, it's a
That's
shoe
what
in.
going on tour.
It's got to be a shoe in as a squad man, as a props. Yeah.
Reading the paper, I'll be getting a bit worried about Thompson. It sounds like he might be on his way.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
one thing for sure, it won't look out of place what Liam Watts. Thompson and Walmsley are brilliant. Look at them, we've got James Graham, look at the Burgess boys from there, but he won't look out of place in the Great Britain jersey if he does get selected. He's at this moment in time, he's up there with the best, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's Watts. No two ways about it.
definitely. Go on.
Elsewhere on social media, plenty of people in favour of Scully's retribution from players.
Oh yeah.
Very patronising, says Jill. Elsewhere, Kevin Brown, who was on the telly. Well, I know we're coming to this in a minute, but Kevin Brown, how can he be at Salford? says Gary, they've got no money. And as Odessa points out, 1.8 million every year.
Yeah.
So all thanks to a unique way Rugby League's funded by our friends up there somewhere.
He'll be getting some of Jackson Hastings.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Well,
We've had more than that. I can see millions of them.
Listen, everyone in Rugby League knows how much people get paid, that's the thing. Dave says, as a Leeds fan, I really hope either Cass or Salford win Super League this year. Get a new name on the trophy. Very slim chance, but I've got all my fingers and toes crossed. Odessa says, great effort by Smithies. Jill says, Wigan have never been any different than the most hated club in Super League. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? But it's true. Get told off for that. Tony, and no one likes Tony Club. Everyone thinks he should have been banned. It's interesting. The
wasn't a great look, was it?
On-field. It should have been dealt with on-field.
Yeah,
which is an interesting way of.
Yeah.
Because.
Was it enough for a ban, or should it have been an 8-point try? I think it should have been an 8-point try. Personally,
there you go. You can't go
it
back.
was just a cheap shot, wasn't it? You know, I mean.
And the evidence apparently provided by Salford wasn't clear enough for the eye incident. So.
Right.
Not much you can do.
Fair enough. Did they not take Jackson Hastings' eyeball? So yeah, scratch on. Yeah.
You know, like you have a head impact test. Make it do one of those things where you have to carry the.
I can't see.
Draw the letters or whatever it is. Our Featherston Rovers under the radar, says James. Playing all the matches away may have took the pressure off them. Can they get to the final with them? They're going to get to Super League.
I think they do.
I
do.
Luke's been on about the attendances.
I do. Well, we'll talk about the attendances when we talk about the next game. Go on, anything else that people want to discuss?
Not my computer's crashed. Salford have a side that can get to a grand final, says Paul. People are deciding where Richie Myler's gone. John thinks he's off to Hull KR. But got the wrong agent.
He won't go to Hull KR.
How do you know?
He won't go to Hull KR.
Why? Because Tony Smith don't want him, or?
He won't go to Hull KR.
Tim, okay, fair enough.
Tim
Of
says
the options available to him, one is not Hull KR.
Tim says Leeds should be signing Jake Truman, not Gale. Truman and McClelland are the future. A couple of good games in the Championship.
Not sure Castle be that prepared to let Truman go at this
Well,
stage.
it was if the fees right, yeah. If the money's there. Speaking of Castleford then, big win for them over Warrington. I've got to be honest, I watched Warrington the week before Leeds. They stumped the gaff out. They were awful. But I saw the team and I saw Cass had a couple missing and you think, yeah, I think they'll just about get it done.
Yeah.
And Cass, fair play to them. Fantastic performance, going there and winning, and won by 2 points in the end. I don't understand the mentality. Ratford kicking for goal near the end, where even if you'd got it, you're still not in front. There's no guarantee A, he kicked it or B, kicked it dead, so you're giving away possession. Surely that would bang that in the corner and get on with it. I just thought it was poor.
I think that said everything about Warrington.
I think a few people have raised some good points. Right, I think it's important. Steve Price up for coach of the year. He's won one of the main trophies, so I can see it. They've lost 8 out of the last 9 in Super League. That is the worst form in Super League in the last 9 games, or 8 games and a playoff game. That is terrible. They're fallen off a cliff, Warrington. I think their season has been a failure for all this hype. Yeah, they won the cup, but for everything that they're hyping up and all those silly gimmicks they're doing about the gifts or whatever about St Helens not winning the treble, well, they should be getting it back now because all this talk and it's nothing. Knocked out. They're spending too much money to get knocked out in the first week of the playoffs for me. They were awful. Something has gone wrong there. I don't know what it is, but something has gone badly wrong at Warrington.
The one thing I didn't fully understand, because you don't really look back until you got the result of that game, is that I looked at that Warrington team and thought there weren't too many players missing.
No, there weren't.
So although Blake Austin got injured and that meant a little bit of a reshuffle, and I get that, and he's been very important to them when they were playing very, very well, almost to the extent perhaps that Ben Barber was at St Helens last year, that don't worry if we're in trouble, give it to Blake, he'll sort it out.
That's a long time ago, though, isn't it? That's a real
but
long time ago.
I looked at their team and thought, the difference between these two is one is a collection of individuals. Warrington have become some very talented players who are not playing as a team. Oh, we're in trouble. Darryl Clark will run out of dummy half. That normally gets them. Castleford, who had some guys missing and all year have had to shuffle the deck that they've got,
Mend and make do,
are playing very, very similarly to the way Featherston are playing in the playoffs in the Championship at the moment. That is a team. That is like, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down together.
Yeah.
And it's all right. Everybody knows that Truman's our one creative outlet. If he gets bottled up, we'll just tackle our asses off instead. And I just thought at the end of that game, that was the difference between the teams was how they approached it. That Warrington, it was almost, we've got some good players, we'll be okay. That penalty was a classic example of everything that went wrong at Warrington in the second half of the season. Ratchford has no history of kicking a penalty from halfway.
No.
Don't do it.
No,
you're 2 points behind. Put pressure on the opposition.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought it sends out the wrong message to me. What did you make of it, Gary?
Well, from Castle's point of view, I'll just with them before I rip into Warrington. To be honest with you, is that Castle fancied that, and I predicted Castle. I think I said by 8 or 10, which obviously he didn't get that. But anyway, I fancied Castle. They're in the mood. They're fancying the playoffs now. They're used to the semi-final football. They fancied Warrington on Thursday night, and I thought Rankin was outstanding at full-back. Matt Shane, that's his best game, I would say, for around about a couple of months. Liam Watson, we've seen from there. Excuse me, Milner came off the bench. Peter, what's his Tautier. He was outstanding, but overall, the big game players and the big names, they stood up for Cass on Thursday night, and they looked like a team. They fancied it. And as far as Warrington, I think they're up themselves. I do. I think they're up themselves at this moment in time. I think they're showing plenty of arrogance towards people. I listened to an interview before the game started on Thursday night, and it was Lee Breers, and everybody knows how to rate Lee Breers, not just as a person, but also as a player from there. But what he said in the interview was, the question was, you're not coming to the best form so far to this game, how do you fancy it? He just said, well, let me just answer that. He just says, at this moment in time, it's a separate competition, so we're not bothered about the form coming into this game. We're the best knockout competition team in the competition. We proved that with the Challenge Cup. Yeah, all right, then you won 3 games and won the Challenge Cup, fair enough. But to be saying you're not bothered about your form coming into the top 5 game, the first playoff game, pressurised game, because let's not forget here, Warrington have brought in one player here this year to get them not only to the grand final, to win the grand final.
Look,
so I felt as though...
I get what you're saying there, but if Breers comes out and goes, oh, bloody hell, we're worried about us form, we're playing like a set of dogs. Everyone would have been going, oh, they're not going to win, You've got to come out and say, it's like a boxer might think, I might be in for a tough night. He's not going to come out and go, well, I think I might lose. He's going to go, I'm going to knock him out. He's got to come out and say that, he's got to come out and be positive, fair, come on.
I'm not saying not to be positive, but as I've said, over arrogance. Surely they over arrogance.
Did you ever get interviewed before you played Wigan in the final and go, oh yeah, we'll win. Yeah, we can beat Wigan. No problem, we'll beat Wigan. Well, if we play well, we'll win.
I think you've got to be smart when you're doing these sort of interviews, haven't you? At the end of the day,
how come you didn't then?
How come what?
How come you didn't?
Did you?
If you've got to be smart, how come you got interviewed?
Because I'm going to speak properly, to be honest. And speaks a bit of sense, to be honest with you. But no, I still think. There was arrogance because, as I say, they wasn't worried about the form. Yeah, you could put a spin on it if you want, and and as you should mention there, well, we A, B, C, and D from there, but they had to be worried about the form. And
maybe they were internally.
I found it very surprising. Well, at the end of the day, it's come out to kick them on the backside, hasn't it? With that arrogance.
How did they win then at Wembley? How did they turn up and win and play so well at Wembley? Because that was in the midst of that bad run.
They knew Blake Austin wasn't playing, and they knew that if they didn't all play as one, they didn't have a chance.
And also as well, and
I think that Austin coming back, clearly not fit, clearly been one of the players of the season, as almost everybody else has stepped back and said, well, if he's back, I'll just support him. It's not enough.
And also as well, when you're playing as underdogs. When really there's not a lot of pressure on you, and also as well, when you realise if you put the opposition under a lot of pressure, you find out they're only human. I don't think Warrington gave Castleford the respect what they deserved on Thursday night. That's the point I'm making, man.
Yeah, I get that. I get that, but I also for Breers, you can't come out and say, oh, we're worried about us for. He's got to come out and be.
No, but I think they need to make a couple of team selection changes. I think they need to bring some young players in who are hungry. Because you quite rightly mentioned the form going into the playoffs, particularly those games after Wembley, when you do go on an emotional high, and it does take. I think that's when you need to bring a couple of you young kids in, your Thewlisses, or Harvey Levette has not really had the game time that perhaps he should have done, and just to freshen it all up, just to put bodies in there and eagerness. And that's been lacking for Warrington, I think, this year.
Well, one player. Let's go back to because a few people said to me, the season's been spoiled by Warrington's Challenge Cup. I said, you can't blame the Challenge Cup. The Challenge Cup was 5 weeks ago now, was it? 5 weeks ago. Have you seen? We all saw the way that Murdoch Masala played at Wembley. How good was he at Wembley? Have you seen him play like that since?
And they know.
I've seen him play like that.
Yeah, when we talk about consistency,
yeah,
you know.
and having got to both finals last year, they know what it takes.
Yeah.
So that's no excuse.
Didn't derail him last year.
No excuse.
No, and also as well, I've got to say, and I've backed him and I've stuck up for him many times. But Declan Patton, I'm sorry, but his performance on Friday night was the worst I've seen him play. The worst I've seen him play, and we know next year that Garrett Winnip is coming. I tell you what, I think it might be time for Declan Patton to look for another club because he ain't going to play for Warrington unless there's serious injury doubts. His performance on Friday night was simply not good enough.
We've got a 5 in the paper. I mean, we'll praise Castleford in a bit, don't worry, Cass fans. Warrington blame on the cup final, says Kev, not buying it. The season would have been a disaster if not for the cup. Players have the wrong attitude for him. Tom's saying Patton had a shocker again. I said last week, Steve Price shouldn't be in the shortlist for the Super League Coach of the Year because A, it says Super League in the title, and B, they were second. They were clear in second, and they've completely cocked up the chance of having 2 shots at the grand final.
Yeah, you're right.
Salford,
Well, they're hanging on, weren't they? Realistically, come the end, you know, it's been an interesting.
Wembley was great, says Andy, but they failed again. The team is a lot better than last man showing, and as a fan, I want answers. The only team recently in the Super League was Wakefield.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they put a form table on Sky?
They would have
For
been
the
wrong.
second half of the season. And they got to...
Yeah, they would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awful.
Well, again, is it that showing? Again, I use the 2 words. Is it that showing arrogance and disrespect to the opposition? It is.
Well, I just wonder how a team can be so good and the same place so bad. And that has been the same place. Not like they've had a mass injury.
Yeah.
All right, they lost Austin. So what are you saying? You're a one-man team. Well, they weren't a one-man team when they won at Wembley, were they? So you know, I don't think you can have that argument either.
So last week you rated all the teams as they go out. The team that's gone out this week is Warrington.
Yeah.
Marks out of 10 for the season.
Well, the only success you can say is the Challenge Cup. But after that, I say because their ambition and their goal, as we all know, as Richard Shaw likes to keep saying every season, is it their year? It's going to be their year.
I don't think it's just
Well, again, it's not going to be their year. And if it wasn't for the Challenge Cup, it would have been a disaster. And I say, all right, they've won the Challenge Cup, but apart from that, very poor. I can't give them no more than a 6.
Someone picked up on my tweet about that on Thursday. It was very interesting.
What about yourself?
5.
5?
Because my expectation was that last year they got to 2 finals,
Yeah.
and that almost whetted their appetite for where they wanted to be. To have won the Challenge Cup final and then not carried on, I think that's a massive disappointment.
Absolutely.
So the first half of the season you probably give them an 8
Yeah.
when it looked like they were going to be second. Second half of the season is probably a 4. So for me overall maybe a 5. Disappointing.
What about yourself, Mark?
I'm just wondering about our next review because I can hear you snooking up then. Super League, they won the cup, I get that. Yeah, fine. Honestly, I think it's better. I actually tweeted this on when they lost on Friday. How would you say? I think it's been a disaster. I think it's from where they were to finish 4th and not win in the playoffs at home. They will be asking questions. That is not good enough. Except getting to the grand final and losing, maybe, but not like that. It was a capitulation. It was a white flag's gone on. I don't know what's gone on there. We can't take away from Castle. We've got to praise Castle because they went there and won. And as you said, Scully, they clearly fancied it. And Darryl Powell is talking it up, saying, "Yeah, come on then, let's go to Salford and do it again."
Well, I think what was it, 6-7 weeks ago now? Was it Darryl said he wanted 7 from 7? The build up to the semi-finals, and he wanted some good form. He wanted plenty of confidence. I think he got 4 out of 7, didn't he, from there? But he's fancied the semi-finals. He's got the feeling now that if they can make the 5, and he's not too worried that he's got to go play away from home. The players fancy it, and the players, certain himself, the way that he see with the body language, you know, with the smile on the faces from there, they're up for the challenge as well. So if Castleford are going to go down, they're certainly going to go down with a big fight, and they fancied that. They fancied that there on Thursday night, and one thing for sure, you know, certainly when I looked at the forward pack, Millington looked back to his best as well. He didn't look as though he was carrying a massive injury from there. He got himself heavily involved. So Castle certainly fancy Thursday. They will fancy it.
I like people like Matt Cook, because I think to be a threat at this stage of the season, everybody's got to offer you something. And him coming off the bench always seems to me lift. There were times when Warrington brought guys off the bench and the intensity didn't go up. In fact, in some respects, it possibly went down. There were guys who returned that didn't make a difference. somebody like Matt Cook, who is a name you don't think of first off when you're listing all the guys who've had a really... I just thought he made a massive contribution. If you're going to do anything in a competition like this, particularly playing away every week, those are the kind of guys you've got to rely on.
I like Cook. I think he's a good player. I'm very impressed. You'll have been happy with your new adopted team.
Yeah.
You'll have
Well,
been delighted.
everyone in the WF postcode area, apart from one team, we're all in favour of.
Which team's that?
Well, we like Wakefield, obviously, Cass, Fev, all the women's teams, Dewsbury and Batley. And they're the only ones. No other professional teams that play in the WF postcode. Don't like them. They're not really Wakefield. Not that Dewsbury and Batley are, but we'll claim them anyway, if they do something good. Actually, if Dewsbury sign Brett Ferry, it's got to be great, because then Wakefield can't sign him.
Next week on the show, our special guest Brett Ferris. If you're here in place of Richard, he'll be beaten outside the front door.
Castley well to say they only played with 16 players as well.
Yes, they did. They did.
I can't get over Jacques O'Neill.
What am I?
It should be Jacques. He's from Montreal. What's he doing in Super League? Jacques.
I think you'll find it's Jack. Anyway.
I know. What's going on?
So, what, a Canadian in Super
I
League?
know. These fancy spines from this.
they
I think
don't
it's like the
play
NFL.
Canadian in
They don't play
Super League?
Rugby League in Canada.
It's like the NFL with all their spelling.
Is Robert Elston aware of this?
I don't know.
He might be getting out. We're kicking him out.
Is he on the show?
Get him in the
We're not asking him
championship.
to be on the show, are we? No, we're not that kind of program.
Well, to be fair, I think if we paid a fee, we still won't get him on.
You certainly wouldn't be answering any of the questions you would be asking.
I don't think you're allowed anyway.
No,
I think
that's why I won't be answering.
You're not allowed to ask any questions.
Oh,
So Castleford are through.
Yeah, and the good news is as well, Oliver Holmes isn't signing for Wakefield because some signed that room at the weekend as well.
Did they?
Yeah.
I thought you
But-
just signed a new deal. Or?
Yeah, well, people just make things up on social media. I don't know how they get away with it, but yeah. 7 out of 10, Ollie Holmes, our former colleague.
He's playing a bit more in the middle, isn't he now, Ollie? He's doing a job. He's
Making
doing
the
a
headband.
job.
Yeah.
Made the headband
Few
fast.
Ran with more venom than most of the Warrington forwards.
Yeah.
Only what I have with volley though, he gets some silly penalties away, doesn't he?
Well,
He can be a penalty machine at times, can't he?
That's waking like
He gets a bit when he drops on come attackers, he gets frustrated and he like flops on this sort of thing. So that's been a little bit worried about Ollie. Not apart from anything else, you know, he goes all right.
are they honest penalties rather than daft ones?
Daft
if you know
ones,
what I mean?
yeah, daft ones. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but is he out of honesty because he's trying too hard, or?
I think it's just daft ones, you know, holding down this, you know, when he doesn't need to be honest with you, you know, and just like, oh yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Castle fancy Thursday, and I say when you look at it now, them players have got the smell on the face from there, and they as I said a while ago now, they're going under the radar, nice and quietly, and that's just how Darrell wants it. And I'm in for an absolute
The exact
belter.
opposite to 2017 when they were expected to win.
Jason has asked us how Leeds and Warrington get the same marks out of 10 because you just made up, completely made up.
It's like the ones in the paper, mate.
You can get 2 of those t-shirts for a tenner from mascotbrowns.com using the promo code Mile High Stadium. Just got to keep mentioning it.
Have you?
Apparently we
Okay.
should make some money off the back of it.
All right, okay. Well, we're not going to make a lot for 2 for a tenner, let's
Well,
be fair.
Alright.
But every little helps. That's what the supermarket says, isn't it?
People are now spotting rugby league players in McDonald's across the place. We're not going to out these people because it could be lying. It could be making up where these rugby league players are.
Ah,
And we know they only got a Nando's and Costa Coffee.
Well, to be fair, I mean,
It's pre-season for most of them now.
yeah. If someone wants to go to McDonald's, I don't think it's the end of the world, is it?
Well, it depends what they have. If they have like 20 Big Macs or something.
Has there been any silly incidents on Mad Monday or anything like that? Has there been?
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of.
No.
Not that we can legally divulge. Anyway.
Just behave.
We've had a look at the Super League. We'll have a look at the fixtures, obviously, in our predictions later on. What about the Championship then? We'll start off on the game on Saturday. Featherston. I said to Rich, well, during the event really, but I really thought Featherston would win this week. It's a great season for York. Got thumped last week, having to come back from France and do it all again. Probably the game was more competitive than the scoreline would suggest, but Featherston on a bit of a roll. We talk about teams with a point. I watched them at Lee the week before. I thought they were brilliant, and they were good again this week. And they are on a roll at the moment, Featherston.
They are.
You know, they've only narrowly lost to Toulouse and Toronto recently. I think they genuinely think that they can win this competition. Let's talk about it again. And York, great season. So I think you actually said top 5. I didn't think they'd do that well.
Yeah, top
so
5.
You said top 5. They got 3rd. Brilliant achievement. they've punched above their weight. In the playoffs, it's tough. You're playing big games every week, and they've had some big games in the running as well. So has it just caught up with them, do you think?
Yeah, it has. And so when you look at that Featherston squad as well, some of them players, some of them have got Super League experience, some of them again have got playoff football, and that word experience means hell of a lot, and again, when you look at the Salford Wigan game, and when you looked at York with Featherston, again, York just wasn't smart enough, was it? And then at times just a little bit indisciplined from there, and Featherston was a lot smarter than what York was. But York, absolutely sensational, and they say finished in the top 5 from, was it 2-3 years ago, where they were literally, they were closing the gates.
They weren't in the fixtures.
They were closing the gates from there, so the job what Mark Campbell and John Flatman have done, sensational. The coach, Fordy and the players from there.
Was it labelled up, the Mark Campbell derby?
Yeah, that's what we called
did
it.
last
Let's
week.
just out in it now.
I think we got away with it last week.
Well, everybody knows. Well, Mark will be laughing his head off now. Don't worry about that.
Oh yeah, and the fine wings. It's
I can reassure you, but no, York, they're absolutely sensational, and what a story that would be in 2 or 3 years' time. Move into a new stadium next year if they could get a little bit more quality. Who knows? We're looking for big city clubs to be in Super League. York, I tell you what, if they could get in Super League in the next 3 years or so, what a day out that would be at York. Brand new stadium. York's a great city, some great pubs from there, so it would be fantastic to go from there. But going back to the game, Featherston, sheer quality, knew how to handle the pressure, experienced players came to the fore from there. And I tell you what, Mark, I've got to be going with you here. They fancy this. They fancy this, and they'll fancy Toulouse. They'll get ripped in from there, and if they play as smart as what they did at York on Saturday, they could go to Toulouse and win. And as everybody knows, what London did to Toronto last year, hey, listen,
it's a one game.
It's a full 80 minutes.
It's
only 80 minutes.
Went there, and I know it were a normal league game. Fev went there under strength at what, a month, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Took it right to the last few minutes.
Yeah.
I think they fancy it. All right, they've got to go over Toulouse, and I don't think Toulouse can be as bad as they were for large parts yesterday. But Fev win again. I mean, look, I'll be honest. When Ryan Carr got an out, we're like, Ryan who? Who's this guy? Why is he coming? Why should he get a job in out? Well, he has done, and he's done a bloody good job. We can't, let's be fair. There's something about them. I see something about them. I don't know. They all seem to know what they're doing. They've got, despite the fact they've got all these dual reds or loan players in, they seem quite a settled bunch. They all seem to know their own role. And
what you've seen, I think, also as well, because they talk about, they use this word now, culture, don't they? What a load of tosh that word is for me, from a point of view of a sport, from a sport club. It's quite simple. It's called team spirit. It's in that dressing room where everybody are pulling on the same piece of rope.
I think he said after winning at league, he said, my team, I've never had a team work this hard.
Yeah.
And it shows, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does. And everybody's pulling on the same piece of rope. And also, another two important things, every individual knows the job as an individual, what he has to do, and then as a team collectively, that's how it's all coming together. And that is great work from the coach, but also as well the players knowing exactly what the roles are and fancying the position what they're in now. And another important factor is they're enjoying this extra little bit of pressure. And what I say about pressure, when people say to me, Scotty, how do you handle pressure? I'll tell you how you handle pressure, with a smile on your face. You enjoy that pressure, because once you start enjoying pressure, it brings out the best of everybody.
There's one other thing as well, and I'll come back to York in a minute, because there's one other thing I want to pay tribute to them for. But the spine of that Featherston team is superb at the moment. Starting with Ash Golden at the back, because he doesn't make mistakes. He's ultra reliable. If you're looking round, you're a young kid, you want a lead, kick to him, pass to him, need a guy that's going to take that dirty carry first up. In that company, he's looking absolute class. You then go through the halves, you've got Chisholm, who arguably is the best pickup in that division. Now, for whatever reason, and I know some of the reasons why Bradford didn't feel they could keep him, but you see, he's found a home. And in that company,
he's a match winner.
He is.
Could have gone to the playoffs.
Just think, if he'd have stayed at Bradford, they might have gone to the playoffs.
But he's also looking after the kid that's inside him as well. So McClelland has got licence to do what he feels he needs to do, because Chisholm's covering for him. I think they've got two very good hookers, but particularly over the last couple of weeks, Connor Jones has been magnificent.
Yeah.
Now, came in from Northern Pride. Cameron King's been injured, who arguably has been one of the best players in that division. Yeah. Jones has been so good that Salford have already picked him up for next year. But he did make a couple of mistakes in the second half, but he's so dynamic out of dummy half. And then you've got your captain at loose forward, James Lockwood, who for the last 2 weeks has been held everything together. He has been absolutely... He's not going to do the stuff that scores you 8 tries. He's not going to pull off the match win. You have to have a James Lockwood in your team.
But also, I was thinking another player in there, though, John Davis. John Davis, I know he's not in the class of Sean O'Loughlin at Wigan, but John Davis brings exactly what O'Loughlin does to Wigan. He's the warrior. He's the warrior. He's the one who keeps holding it all together. When he's been calmed down, he's the one who calms it all down and just sets the example again.
And 2 weeks running, they've scored exactly the same try, bringing James Harrison off the bench on an angled run. It's impossible to defend against. They've just got all the ingredients, and I think you're right. We quite rightly questioned on Ryan Carr's appointment, why did it need an Australian with no pedigree coaching in the Championship? The fact that he has made such a good job of it is a credit to him.
Yeah.
I still maintain that the Championship should be a proving ground for British coaches, but that's a different argument for a different day. He's got something.
I think my argument will be he should take up a quarter spot.
Yes,
And
I think we
either
said
choose
that at
a
the
player
time.
or
That
a
if you
coach.
want to take an overseas
It
coach,
counts on your staff.
there's one less player. Just going back to York, I think it was one game too many. I think the heat of Toulouse the week before caught them as well. It's really difficult to fly over there, play in the middle of.
You half
the
wonder
afternoon.
if finishing third's done
Yeah.
them in. If they'd have
Yeah.
finished fourth, they'd have been at home last week. Might have won, and
Yeah.
and then you know.
And I think more often than not, they've used the same core squad this
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
and I think that's got them. One thing I would say, and obviously it's something we will discuss. There's one crowd that stands out this weekend. That's the antidote to everybody dropping off, and that is again York getting 3,300. Now I know that's partly to Featherston, and the fact that they took a lot of really good play, really good support with them, and flat cappers were brilliant. Like Salford this year, they've had one or two issues, but there was none on Saturday. They made it into a real party atmosphere. But the way York promote the game, the way they make matches into events, the fact that they have got at least an equivalent, if not slightly more than the two teams got for a league game a month before, that is a massive credit to York. And you're right about they'll bring a new stadium, they'll bring a great city. Off the field, they do it right.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of Super League clubs that could learn from the way York have gone about their businesses.
So why can York do it?
Anybody can do it.
Swinton, Barrow, Rochdale, Dewsbury, Batley, Widnes, whatever. Widnes probably a bad example. Halifax, Sheffield, why can't they do it?
York have galvanised a core of volunteers who are absolutely passionate about putting the club back where
Because as you mentioned, they were on the backside.
they're volunteers. They're not paying for any of this. They're very clever in the way that they come up with the campaigns. They are absolutely brilliant at identifying a market, and the market is not necessarily the 500 that have always supported York and were at Huntington Stadium when the City Knights were formed. It's the 2,500 that are in North Yorkshire that might never have heard of Rugby League. But you get the right message out that something big is happening in our city on Saturday afternoon, people will go.
My favourite thing in Super League is also getting volunteers to do jobs that you're paying other people to do as well. One of my favourite things.
Alright.
But you cut your cloth in Super League. Maybe you get enough money not to do that. But the way York have reinvented themselves.
Featherston are in danger. Says sorry, Phil. Featherston are in danger. Says Phil. Good luck to them if they do it. But their promotion will be a disaster for Super League. We need more big city teams, not villages. They all didn't want licensing. This is what you wanted.
Ken, you get in
This is what you
Super League
wanted.
on merit, and if they win that competition, they're in on merit.
Oh,
Whether they're a big city, little town, whatever, they're in on merit. If those are the rules, those are the rules.
And compared to many big cities, including at least one in the Championship who finished below them, they spent their money on their stadium.
I'm just going to say that as well, because we were down at Featherston last week and the stadium's magnificent.
It is.
Mark Campbell's done a great job there with the seating and all this sort of thing. The hospitality's good. There's plenty of different bars around. There's plenty eating places. What have you. Oh yeah, if Featherston do win, I'd say what touch what is going to happen for them, you know. And they will be from a stadium point of view for hospitality and looking after supporters. Featherston will be ready.
They will. They will need to beat Toulouse though this week. Toulouse beaten in Toronto yesterday. Wolfpack pretty impressive. Thought Wilkin was outstanding. I thought Latelli, he was a difference when he.
I thought
really
Joe
went on.
Muller was magnificent.
Yeah, played well. His 200th career appearance. Thought he'd played more than that, to be fair, Joe. But
I thought he was the reason why Lutelli created havoc. His ball selection inside Lutelli and getting him quick ball was superb.
Yeah. So 40 points to 24. A couple of late tries for Toulouse. Thought flattered them a little bit, but you mentioned crowd over 9,000 at Lamport. Lovely hot day. They were there. Good. What I noticed yesterday as well is obviously when I've done games, you're privy to what's happening before. Normally, a lot arrive as the game's going on. That's the Canadian way, American way. There were a lot there early. You get the feeling they knew it was a big game as well. There were a lot in before the start, which you don't normally get. Great atmosphere and a great win. And Brian McDermott's team scored one game away, but they've been here before and they didn't win. Are they going to win this time?
It's not guaranteed.
No, it's not. No, it isn't. It's sport. Nothing's guaranteed.
It's not a shoe-in. That is for sure. And I think as we all know now, there's not just on the field, where it's off the field as well, which I guess we may speak about or we may not speak about. But as far as them, winning that spot to get into Super League, it's not a guarantee. And I know Toulouse is a bit indifferent if they want and whatever, but whoever goes there in 2 weeks' time, whether it's Featherston and Toulouse, then they will fancy it for the 80 minutes. Why not?
I can't see Toronto being beat.
I can't if the player did.
I think there's two things. One is they are carrying the memory of last year, and whilst they won't mention it, that really hurt them as a club.
Well, of course it did.
But I mean, they didn't see that coming last year. They didn't think that their worst performance of the season, the one where they didn't even score a try, would be in the most important game. And the players that have stayed, that's haunted their pre-season. So that's one thing that I think they won't make. I'm not saying they made a mistake last year, but they underestimated the event, I think. And London played in the manner that we've talked about, Castleford and Featherston. They were a magnificent team on the day. And Toronto panicked the more the game went on. They're not going to do that this year, partly because they've got better players, and partly because some of the players that are still there remember that. But the other difference for me is the bloke whose name you mentioned when you were throwing to Scully. They didn't have Brian McDermott last year. You look at the grand finals he's taking teams to, whatever has gone on previously in the season, he is one of those coaches that can change the tactics for one game to make sure that they get the result. And there is something driving this Toronto team. Yeah, there's all the stuff behind the scenes that needs sorting out. The issue for me is not the stories that are being written that quite rightly say there are issues about them, the time that it's taking to pay creditors. It's the fact that why are we one game away from the end of the season and we don't know?
Yeah.
And not only do we not know,
well, all the players and staff can do, and coaches do, is win the game.
We don't even know what the
there.
contingency is. Have Toulouse been told that if they get to the grand final, that's it? All of that as a sport, we have to sort out. We cannot wait until the week before that game happens. That said, I think they're a bit like St Helens in Super League. You look at the league table, you look at the way they've played this year, you look at the run of form they've put together, you look at the quality of players that they've got, the three that we've named, and that's without naming half a dozen of the other ones. They are a Super League team in waiting for me.
Interesting. There's going to be some fallout, Rich. We need to know what's happening, don't we, really? We need to know.
We do. Well, the interesting thing is, it's John Davison's story in the paper today, isn't it? In League Weekly. You can find it at the front of the paper about the, here it is, page 5. Well, that's Rob Elson as well. A company who hasn't been paid by Toronto Wolfpack for £180,000 in unpaid bills. So one would assume that there are players at the Toronto Wolfpack on more than that.
Won't be far off.
And we haven't heard anything about players not being paid, which you usually hear about if that happens, don't you? So I don't understand why mega rich business people owning sports clubs don't pay bills quickly. And that's why, I guess, that the Super League are doing due diligence on Toronto, because they don't want to happen what has happened in the past. But we could just let them in because they're popular. And
they're here now. We've got to let them in. They're here.
Again.
Here's the news from elsewhere.
I'll go on then.
Congratulations to Halifax, who beat Leeds in the wheelchair grand final.
Wow.
Great game, apparently.
So Leeds lost in the grand final. Halifax are really good, because Leeds beat Halifax in the Challenge Cup final, wasn't it?
Yes.
A few weeks ago. And Hull beat Bradford in the Championship grand final. I'll come to the women's stuff in a minute, because we can talk about something off the back of that. Alan says, what happened to Liverpool RLFC? Lols. Because history being made now on this programme. We'll talk more about Toronto and Elston in a minute. But it was history making weekend in Nigeria, because it was the first weekend of the Nigerian Rugby League.
Wakefield got beat again.
Well, yeah, so did Leeds. Lagos Broncos 32, Lagos Rhinos 14, up the Broncos. Lagos Haven 42, Echo Trinity 18. More results next week. Scotty's got his mug.
Scotty's got his new coat. Have you seen it,
I'm just
Scotty?
looking now, see facts. Yeah, lovely. Who's made this?
Our friend from Salford has sent you it, who made me my t-shirt.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Fully
yeah, they
We're
appreciate
so
it.
upset
Yeah.
for you
See
that
facts.
C
Yeah,
Facts
yeah.
was going that you got your own mug.
It'll do for me.
That you can
Lovely.
steal that one, Scotty. You don't have to bring that one back.
I didn't steal the one. I just
No one
borrowed it.
said you did. I said you can steal it. I didn't say you
Do
did. I
you
said
want
you
to
can
talk more
steal it.
about Toronto before I get onto the...
Lovely.
No, this is your segment where we all eat biscuits,
Oh.
buns and whatever else.
Well, we're supposed to say Brixton Bulls are on tour or something.
Yeah, they are going on tour. I've been
Good
inundated
old
with
Brixton.
messages. They're going to Holland or something out
Who's
there.
this?
I'm
Brixton
not-
Bulls in
Excuse me for being a bit. Why are the lads going to Holland?
If I was going on tour, that's exactly where I'd be.
Would you be
Oh,
going? Would you?
Amsterdam Cobras. Oh, yeah, I think we can fit that in the schedule.
The old boy, wasn't it? It's the Jolly Boys, not the Jolly Boys out in that. It's to
mad.
Hull and back. To Hull and back.
Do we have to play as well? Oh, okay. Anything
Elsewhere,
planned for afterwards? What, in Amsterdam? Well, I think we might find something.
Warrington won the championship shield
yeah.
thing. And there were two games this week. Yesterday, Featherston beat York 18-16.
A thriller, wasn't it?
That was the
That was
rearranged
last
game,
minute
wasn't
try
it?
for Fev- And it does now mean that the final games of the season mean something at the bottom. The top's all sorted. But Wakefield play at Fev and York are at Bradford and both are on 2 points. So it could be, Wakefield don't finish bottom, but they probably will. And on the Tuesday night, Castleford Tigers, who've played all their games this season at the Menderhose Jungle, beat the York City Knights 44-0. Now I say that because apparently someone didn't know they played at the Menderhose Jungle. No, everyone turned up. The referee turned up. The touch judges turned up.
Doctor turned up.
Someone from the RFL turned up to hand over the shield, which you'll notice is a proper shield this year, not that bit of tin that they gave Leeds last year.
It's like the men's
But I
one,
say,
isn't
they
it? It's
gave-
exactly the same, isn't
Last
it?
year they gave Lois at the end of a Frey Bentos in one Nigel left behind or something and put league leaders shield wears on.
Fred Mentos.
Yeah, but you stick a knitting needle and you can get Sky off the back of it.
I'm getting that. Cash guy making no money.
I know. Cass have won the league leader shield. They are the champions. Now, apparently there is some consternation that not only did said delegate, who we don't know who it was, an unnamed official from the Rugby Football League didn't turn up. But they didn't have the shield anyway, so it doesn't matter. But they also didn't turn up with the medals. Now, I'm reliably
Why weren't the
informed.
shield with it? Why weren't the medals with the shield?
Well, I'm reliably informed that there weren't any medals because there aren't any medals.
Ah.
Because there weren't any medals last year when Leeds won. I mean, we could check. We could ask some Leeds players, but I don't.
St Helens all got medals, didn't they?
But they should have medals.
But it's only a recent phenomenon in the men's game. They didn't used to get them. It was only a recent.
But it doesn't matter.
Why no?
You need to be
It would have cost
consistent.
£50 for a bag of medals, wouldn't it? Down
Yeah,
at
we
the,
got 50 quid because we got to broadcast all this stuff on the app.
You can have 50. You can give me 50 quid for all my medals if you want.
No, we need more than one.
Where's
All runners at once.
No, it's like the winners' ones we need.
where's
Yeah, they
We got one.
where's Keith
Yorkshire
Stevens?
Cup.
I got 4 of them actually.
Hat trick from Rhiannon Marshall.
Hold on. School sports day don't count.
I've come second at that, I know.
Hat trick from Rhiannon Marshall. 1,300 there to see them get the shield. So again, I know it's a different.
Can I
women than it is to go watch your
Can
weather.
I just jump in at this point?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a women's related thing.
Yeah.
The women's grand final we know is at St Helens.
Yes.
We don't have to move from Headingley. We know that, so there's no. We understand all that. Can I just make a point about the women's grand final?
Please do.
It is a fledgling competition.
Yeah.
In which the support is growing slowly, but surely. Castleford is a shining example. In the championship, Toronto finished top and get a home grand final. Why do we not have the same for the ladies? And this is not a knock, because St Helens may well be in the grand final at their own ground, and hopefully that will encourage a few to go. But I just think if you said to Castleford,
Yeah.
if they've got to get there,
Yeah.
If they get to the grand final, it's down at the Jungle on Friday night. I reckon they could have got a 5,000 crowd there.
Yeah.
But now they're going to be asked to go away, and it's on the TV, so loads of people will watch it,
Which
which
is
is
great.
great for the game. It is great for
But
the
will
game.
affect the attendance.
Let's be fair. Cass play at the Jungle. Saints will play
They played
the
a couple
final
of
as a
days
Lantry
later,
Park, so totally wicked. So it'd be there anyway. Where are we? Robin Park. They could play
Leeds,
at Robin
yeah.
Park. Who else? Leeds could play at Headingley, or would have played at Headingley. So the grounds are good enough. So what do we say to the the girl? You come top. You're at home in the grand final. You get to the final. I just think it would help build it, and I think.
Well, that was the problem last year, that the women's grand final was played at the small Manchester
It
arena
looks awful.
on the afternoon of the match.
it
So
looks
it's like
awful.
if you were going to go, you were potentially missing the beginning of the
Yeah.
men's grand final. You were asked to make a choice. It didn't
Yeah.
work.
So good that they've given it
So
its own
great that
standalone
it's sitting
fixture.
on it,
We
yeah.
like that. Great, it's on the telly. We like that. But I just think to give it a bit of atmosphere.
Yeah.
If they'd
Well,
have said it's at Cass,
And
the
again,
Cass might not make it. It
if
might
it
have been a
ain't-
Wigan or whatever.
but if it ends up being Cass v Leeds in St Helens on a Friday night, how many people are going to be in the stadium?
Yeah, there's not going to be much neutral buying.
No.
And we've got to, I think we've got to be more aware of that
Mm.
and say to the girls, look, this is your, done it to Toronto, this is your reward, you can be at home. Should have done it with that one. In my opinion, and that's not casting, might have been at Saints and Saints might have got 1,500, who knows? But that's their thing.
Viewing figures have been apparently beyond 200,000 for Women's Rugby League in 2019 on our league and the Twitch. The
Good.
Twitch.
Is that cumulative or one
Well,
game?
I assume cumulative. And then, of course, you've got Leeds have done, I think, most of their games at home on Facebook. Wakefield have done a couple. So, yeah, exciting times.
Yes.
Good news. Not saying the P word because that's not our word.
And the women who are playing in the nines
Getting paid,
are
aren't
going to be paid.
Say what?
So they
Come
will
on.
actually be able to call themselves professional rugby league.
I think I fell out of word with Boris and found the magic money tree. What's going on?
It's
Join the DUP.
funded by Sport England as part of the
there you go.
elite programme.
Ah, good.
It-
Great.
That's what
good.
it's for.
It's
That
great.
is what it's for.
Yeah,
It-
the girls, rather than having to take 3 weeks off work unpaid or whatever some of them had to do last
Which is
time,
ridiculous. Isn't it?
getting a few quid for doing it. Good.
It's-
Like it.
It's great that it's on Sky because we know Sky promote the hell out of everything. And other people say, oh, no, please promote Super League.
And it's great that the Daily Telegraph are sponsoring the Women's Player of the Year awards.
Yeah.
Because again, they have an agenda and we need to be part of it and we're going to be part of it and that's fantastic.
Well, if they've got commitment to women's sport, then that should guarantee the sport some column inches in a big paper.
Absolutely.
We'll look
And I
forward
think
to their
Sky
correspondent
Sky
line
are
there.
not just doing the game, they use it as an excuse to promote Women's Rugby League. So I think you'll find there's a fair amount of extra programming around that game because it gives them the licence to do it.
What's, Derek's just asked this, and it's kind of it relates to this. Is it true Israel Folau is going to join Tonga? Is he Folau? Is he? One of the great strengths of rugby league is its inclusivity, right? Historically, you look at like why Billy Boston left Wales to come to play for Wigan, apart from money and everything else. Clive Sullivan, captain in Great Britain. Eloise Hanley, Great Britain coach in the mid-90s or whatever.
Roy Francis.
And example after example after example of inclusivity in rugby league. One of the ways the women's game has been sold this year, and I don't think I've said this on air, but I'll say it now. When they sell the Wigan Saints fixture based on the fact that a player on each team is married to each other, and I think that's not how I'd sell it, but fair enough. So that's rugby league in 2019, and where some people want to welcome back someone who is the complete opposite of inclusivity. Not just about his views on homosexuals, his views on atheists, fornicators, drunks. Is that all of us covered? I don't know.
I think we're under the umbrella.
How
Yeah.
can
I
you,
don't think any of us are exempt on at least one of those.
how can you
In fact, I think on one specific work to do, we might have been all of us on all charges.
yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And if he does play, I hope none of the Great Britain players shake his hand. I hope none of them
I think we've missed something.
say
here.
hello to him or anything.
Go on then.
I think you've got to look at the origin of this story. The issue at the moment is what is happening with Tonga Rugby League, and we mentioned it briefly last week that the success story of raising the profile of the international game has been the fact that we now have a fourth nation, a tier 2 nation where some very brave players eschewed extra money by playing for Australia or New Zealand or it being part of state of origin to say no, heritage is more important to us. And some guys, principally Jason Taumalolo, obviously because he's the most high profile, Andrew Fafita, a couple of others, David Fusitua, Tui Lolahia, who all decided that they were going to back their heritage. And immediately we had a semi-final that you spoke about last week that arguably the best atmosphere of any game you've ever been to. Whether you were playing, watching, just happened to be in the stadium, even 12,000 miles away on telly, you couldn't not your hair stand up on the back of your neck. That is a massive story, but in typical rugby league fashion, politics has intervened in Tonga, and the Tongan board, based on the island, for whatever reason, have decided to change their coach, to bring in somebody the players don't want. There is a dispute behind the scenes about monies that was generated and supposedly to be allocated to development of rugby league on the island of Tonga, that there's no proof that that's happened yet. It may well have done, but all the players are saying what we think we've got is a very professional setup on the field and a very amateurish one off it. So we want change in the way the sport's run. Now, the sports governing body back in Tonga has come under massive criticism, particularly all the players writing handwritten notes saying we don't want to play for these people anymore. And I think they have felt that the only way they can turn around this tide of publicity against them is to produce out of nowhere a bloke who's hadn't played a game for the last 10 years. So I think the story for me has come from the Tongan board that is under pressure.
Right.
They've approached Israel Folau and said, we'll select you. And that's become a major headline story.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd get registered. I don't think he'd be sanctioned. I think the issue is far bigger than whether he plays or not. There's no question. No, I haven't seen a quote from Jason Tamalolo saying, would you be fine with Folau picked in your team? And him going, what, a guy I play with every week who's proving himself against someone who I haven't really got a lot of time for in his beliefs, that hasn't played for me. I think it's a non-story, but it's a way of moving the metronome back towards the Tongan Federation. The RLIF needs to kill it.
Nice damaging story.
So he's not playing.
Yeah.
Nice damaging story. But you know, I sent some tweets out about it earlier this morning. I think you'd have to be extremely naive and foolish to believe there aren't people who hold the same opinions as him, but they're not stupid enough to say them publicly. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing,
And also, he has a responsibility when you sign a contract to present the sport that you represent in an honest and positive light, and that being bigoted clearly doesn't do that.
Is one world-class sportsman, as he was described to me earlier, worth however many normal people who want to watch and play the game?
No.
And it's the hypocrisy of, and we've been through this before, players who are any good get away with things that players who are not any good don't get away with.
At international level, you wouldn't want to play alongside someone who hasn't played the sport for 10 years.
Not a chance.
Irrespective of anything else.
No.
He's not proved himself.
No.
Doesn't deserve selection.
Should not be allowed in our sport. Simple as that. End of.
Here's Jay. Folau is known for not following guidelines for tolerance, so bugger him. I think that's the problem.
Well, it could have been phrased slightly better, I suspect. Or maybe that's what it is, I don't know.
People have asked us what's happening with the Warrington Catalans thing. We don't know.
Well, there's a lot of things.
Did I ask Bob last week, Bob Elston?
There's a lot of things in the offing that aren't being resolved, aren't there? A lot of things that are really, really worrying in the sport. And that is one of them. That has just been dragging on and on. The other one is the Toronto thing. Are they going to be allowed in or not?
Also, as well, you have a Emma McManus situation with the Wembley scenario with Robert Hicks, bringing the game into disrepute.
Well, so in the not too distant future, like this week, somebody's got to pick a referee for that St Helens Wigan game.
Robert Hicks won't referee.
Week after, somebody might have to be picked for the referee for the grand final, and St Helens might be in it. If the clubs are setting the agenda as to who the referee's going to be, we've gone wrong somewhere.
Sent Rob to Toulouse this week. Well done to that kid, by the way.
Wigan.
Yeah,
with his ref shirt.
Yeah, doing good.
You tweeted that out, didn't you?
Yeah,
Got quite a lot of action.
Good. Support the refs. I know people don't like us when we say that. But,
tell you what, that has been interesting with Robert Hicks, hasn't it? Every time on Sky's got the screen for a try.
I thought he had one the other night when he blew the whistle for the obstruction one. I don't know what it said on the telly, but I thought it should have been a try. I don't know why he blew the whistle. When Wigan was 6-0 up, and I think they deemed O'Loughlin had run into the line, but he passed the ball. It might have been O'Loughlin that passed it. He passed it before the guy went through the line. And I thought he should have waved play on and go to the screen, but I'm not kicking and screaming that he didn't do that. I thought, maybe he got that one wrong.
It's been very interesting since Wembley Front.
Well, I mean, But this is the thing. I mean, so this is where. I mean, let's take them in order. Then obviously nothing's out. We're none the wiser about the Warrington thing. It happened at a Super League game.
But you can go back to the semi-final.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happened with the racism?
You know, there was a racism allegation and there were bottles thrown on the field.
Yeah.
We've not heard
And
anything
racism caught on camera as
Yeah.
well. Well, you know, by a chap that certainly I've worked with, and I won't say know him well, but I've worked with a guy, and he certainly deserves better than that. He deserves an answer. You know, he deserves justice for what's happened to him.
At the very least.
So that again, you don't want to use the phrase "swept under the carpet." So that again, you don't want to use the phrase "swept under the carpet." It's amazing how many of these stories never see the light of day, isn't it? And they're conveniently forgotten about.
But again, how long does it take him to do the investigation? Who's doing these investigations?
Well, exactly.
Who's doing them?
The other thing is, if you're a credible sport, you go for quick wins.
Yeah.
These were issues that didn't need a lot of investigation.
No.
Absolutely.
These were issues that didn't need a lot of investigation.
No.
Absolutely.
Send us a video. Come in, we want to go through it with you, and then we're going to make our judgments from there.
When that incident in the
And we're going
Catalans,
to pass it on to the police,
when
and
that
they're
inc-
going to act accordingly.
when that incident in the Catalans with Warrington went over the fighting and what have you, there were strong messages from the head of Super League, strong messages from the RFL. We're not putting up with this.
Yeah.
This will be dealt with severely.
And no time.
Since then, no, it's happened.
Yeah.
That was straight after the game, you know, and then 40 hours, everything. Yeah, we're going to sort this. Since then, what's happened?
See, but that's one of the reasons where we quite rightly say we need more coverage, we deserve more coverage. When we don't act on things like this, we don't.
Yeah.
Because if we were a proper sport that was scrutinised, people wouldn't allow it to go for 5-6 weeks without any. You know, it'd be on national radio phone-ins every day of the week.
Somehow, Wakefield managed to find whoever did something naughty within hours of posting their picture online and banned them for 12 months.
Yeah.
Or whatever they did.
Yeah.
Yes, Kevin, he's allowed to be a devout Christian, but you are also allowed to be called out on your views if they're not compatible with the real world, if that's not the phrase I'm looking for. That's as simple as that. Daz says if trying to get refused, who goes up or the London staying? Well, that means this week's game is the de facto £1 million game live on Sky Sports, Toulouse versus Featherston.
Well,
this is the thing, is it?
Have London been told, don't sell any of your players yet?
Well, Jordan Abdul signed for Hull KR. I mean, breaking news, everybody.
We never knew. How come we didn't know this? Unbelievable. This Toronto farce needs sorting out. They've had we went to a media briefing, was it last year?
Beginning of last year.
Yeah, where Ralph Rimmer went, no, they're not guaranteed to get in. As though it was fun. We were all like, what? Does Toronto know about this? Oh yeah, they know about this. And yet a year later, more than a year later, we're still in the same boat.
We went into the £1 million game last year, which it was expected on form that Toronto would win, and they'd cleared all the hurdles. If Toronto had won that game at Lamport this time last year and not London, they would have been in Super League. They were asked to produce additional evidence, and they did. What's different this year?
There has to be produced more stuff out there.
Well, but you can't. You know, at what point as a credible? How do you? Whatever, and we'll discuss no doubt crowds in a minute. The one shining light, apart from York, has been yet again. Toronto have got over 9,000 for a home game. How do you turn around to those fans in a fortnight's time and say, you know, we kept telling you this was the route to Super League? Actually, it isn't. As a sport, what credibility do you have left if you go down that road?
And if what the RFL used to say to us whenever you used to ask about how have you allowed this to happen? It's not our job to micromanage clubs, but yet they seem intent on micromanaging Toronto, who aren't. I don't know. It seems a bit. It seems. Look, for the record, if Toronto win the game, I want to happily have them in Super League. Happily have them in. I know the logistics and everything. That's all got to be sorted out. But if they win on the field, they've done what they've been asked to do, like London did last year, and they should be promoted. As a sport, they've been let in, and again, does it go down to the, and I'll use the word incompetence of the predecessors who were running the sport?
Yes.
Is it their fault that this situation? But then again, the people that have taken over have had a year, 18 months to rectify this problem. So they're as much to blame as the people who made the decision
You've
before.
made a very good point there. One of the reasons we have this issue, we've said it right from the very beginning, is if you've got two people trying to administer the same thing, you're never going to get consensus on anything.
No.
So the Super League is saying, well, you want to dump this problem on us. here are the questions we're asking back of you. But they're not asking the questions directly of Toronto. They've got to ask them of the RFL because Toronto are in an R. Forget it. This is just another reason why we cannot afford to have two separate governing bodies.
But this is why, when we're talking about New York City and the other Canadian
Ottawa.
team coming in, Ottawa, this is why it should be Robert Elson making these decisions, because ultimately we should be letting these teams in not to languish in League One,
Absolutely.
to get in the Super League. That's what we should want them in for. So they need.
And the same
there's
criteria,
no joined up thinking.
whatever the criteria are, has to apply to Newcastle.
Can I ask you? I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot now, because when Mr. Elston came in, I queried what he was doing, and we know he spent a lot of time sorting out this with the RFL and doing this and doing that and doing the other. Is he doing a good job, in your opinion? Honest question. In my opinion, I'm going to say he's not. Because I think, right, we're a year now. It's been a year. We're a year nearer to the needing a new TV deal. And he may have been brought into, in my opinion, they should have said to him, Robert, we'll give you £500,000 if you get us a TV deal worth this much. If you get this much, we'll give you £1 million. Fair enough, you're earning it, that's great, do that. I don't think for the sport he's done anything. I really don't.
I'll be interested to hear Gary's take on it, but mine is that I spent a lot of time last week listening to and reading the transcripts of what he said at the playoff briefing. And I think that was all a bit staged. It was an opportunity for him to give his opinion. Didn't see too many questions asked of him, or could he justify it? But I heard him say things like, I want less games. I heard him say things like, I want an even fixture list. I heard him say things like, I want 2 referees. I heard him say a lot of things that he wanted, none of which he can implement at the moment, because 2020 is going to look exactly the same as 2019. So I don't know how, as a sport that is short of resource, we can afford to be paying an extra executive for the sport to look the same.
Well, why is he not saying then, right, as part of my plan to implement 2 referees, that 1.8 million that we're not giving to Toronto, I'm going to take that and we're going to get 20 more referees.
Or why is he not saying, I have produced a paper, having been in the job for a year, about how the sport, which has got a massive negotiation to take place in a year's time, has to move forward. One of the ways it has to do that is, season needs to start a lot later. We need to have no loop fixtures, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, but he said again, those are a one-hit wonder, we'll have them short term.
But I have produced this paper, I've presented it to the 12 Super League chairmen who pay me, and if they don't agree to this, I'm off tomorrow. Then I would have probably more of a respect for it.
Yeah.
I don't think the hashtag New Beginnings and a new logo that's going to be unveiled at the beginning of next year is even a shot clock is anything other than cosmetic.
Well, it's like, can I ask a question? Who bought? We saw these videos, the Our Moment or whatever. What was it?
I thought it was just one at the start. Has there been one since?
No, there was some put out last week by the clubs, and they all look like they've been produced in the same place.
Yeah.
Preaching to the converted again.
Absolutely.
We're preaching to the converted again. No need. I don't see where it's coming from. I just don't. I look at it and I fear at the top of the game. It's not being run properly.
Well, to be honest with you, Robert Elson's not running the game. It's the 12 chairman who are running the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So
who are not in agreement themselves.
this is what I'm saying. So how can the game move forward? And just maybe to stand up for Robert, to be honest with what Phil's saying there. And if he did come up with this paper, this blueprint paper, to say this is what I want A, B, C, and D up till Z. And there, but he's not deciding that. He cannot go there and say, right, this is the way we're going to move forward. This is the way I reckon we'll get this TV deal, and I reckon I'll get the TV deal, and what you are looking for if you agree to this. Unfortunately, he's not in charge. It's the 12 chairman of Super League, and that is where the downfall is. It is.
Rich?
I'll have to bring in the 13-point plan that he gave us at the start of the season so we can go over them. Unless people see that as negative, I don't know.
I just don't think it's working. I don't think it's working.
But also,
where we're going.
The problem is...
But also when you look at it, and Robert Elson wanted to make superstars out of our superstars in Super League. Well, again, I spoke to Phil last week about it, and I was listening to the radio what we work for, in TalkSport, and then down Goffwell, right? And if we're looking to get Rugby League players out there and getting names from them, and Goffy was going on about, the BMW tournament was there, and he was playing with Vaughan, he was playing with Mike Ting and all this sort of, and I'm thinking, you know what, why isn't Rugby League being represented? Is anybody not putting out Rugby League as our brand, as our sport, and putting our play? I'm not talking about myself because I've been gone 20 odd years now, but I'm talking your Schoolthorpes and all these sort of people, and Lonnies and what have you. Why are we not getting the so-called superstars out and meeting these big sponsors, and being associated and being part of it? And not, as Phil mentioned there, with Rugby Union World Cup. I've looked at the Rugby Union World Cup this week, and I've written down all the major sponsors from there. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing the amount of talent what they are feeding into. Why are we not doing this from there? And this is one thing what Robert Elson says, I'm going to make the superstars of Super League bigger superstars. We're going to get them out there. That's another failure. That's not
Our
being
media
happening from
footprint
there.
is getting smaller.
I agree,
Through
yeah.
radio, local radio, national radio,
absolutely.
through the newspaper.
Absolutely.
It's getting smaller.
Yeah.
It's getting smaller. And it's frightening, and that's the media mismanagement.
Because you know what, and it doesn't give me any joy in saying this, but unfortunately, we are a very, very small majority sport, and it doesn't give me any joy in saying that. We are.
Because we're honest on this problem. I've admitted it for a while, and people don't see that. The problem with things like I've not read the quotes from Robert Elson because I can't be bothered. But one of the main headlines that comes out of it, or the thing people pick up on, is the Thursday games is a complete irrelevance. Whatever day of the week we play games on is completely irrelevant to the future of Rugby League. We play on Thursdays because Sky want them, because it fills a slot. And it's alright people saying, oh well, the Lee Fev game got 7 billion viewers on Sunday night for a one-off on a Sunday. We don't always play games on a Sunday night against nothing. We had Saturday afternoon Rugby League this week, York and Fev, and at the same time York and Fev's on Sky, we're competing against ourselves on our app by showing an amateur final. Why are we doing that? There's no joined-up thinking within the sport.
No.
Robert Elson or whoever, I was sold on him being the second coming of Maurice Lindsay. And we've said before on this programme, Lindsay's like Thatcher. He believed in exactly what his plan was. And his plan may have had lots of flaws, but he believed in it and he was going to go forward with it.
Absolutely.
Bugger everyone else, he was going to do what he did. Whether he's a success or a failure is up to you. And if you're from Featherston, you'll think differently than if you're from Wigan. What is our plan generally? What is our actual plan?
But who is our spokesperson? Who is talking up Rugby League? Who is demanding going on programmes to raise the profile of sport? Who is going on saying, there's no issue with Toronto, this is what's happening with Toronto? Nobody. That is the role of the person that supposedly is the chief executive of your organisation. The fact that we've got two, for me, is an issue. I think Robert Elston's qualifications, in that he's worked for broadcasters, he's worked for accountancy firms who specialise in sport, he's run a Premiership football club that didn't have access to the same resources as others, but so he knows the issues of the sport. He's followed the politics and the sport since he was young. He's worked in the RFL in a previous incarnation. For me, he's got every qualification we need.
But yeah, he's not doing.
But what he hasn't got is the power. And if you were going to pay somebody the amount of money that he's allegedly being paid, I would have just said, it's not about the 12th chairman anymore. We're paying this bloke because he's got everything we haven't. Go and do the job. Go be head of the game, and if that means somebody has to move slightly sideways to accommodate him, so be it, because we've got the guy we want. Your job is to bring in more finance. We've not seen a new sponsor. Your job is to bring in more finance. We've not seen a new sponsor.
No.
We might have seen some renewals, and we might have lost Specsavers and bought Romseal, but we're not talking about huge amounts.
There has been an improvement in the major
a deal that was already there.
I think that's an acknowledgement from the major sponsor.
Yes,
that they were getting
but we
good
haven't
value
got
from it.
a major new sponsor.
No, we haven't.
So I would have said to him, if we're going to pay you the kind of money that your market value determines, this is the job we want you to do. We actually want you to be in charge. And chairman of the Super League clubs, his brief is to get you more money, but you have to allow him to have a brief, not keep referring to him. And the thing about Maurice Lindsay was he was a benevolent dictator. So for the 5 years he's in charge, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And any successful company has a bloke at the top that says, this is where we're going.
But from Morris' point of view, Morris, he was very purposeful. It was either his way or you were going. You know, I can remember when Leeds, when they first came through, and they said to Leeds, you've got 40 minutes to decide. If you're not covering, you're in League One. That was it. You know, that was it. And they had to do it because Leeds didn't want summer rugby because of the cricket and all that thing. Anyway, they had 40 minutes to decide, and then they decided what to do. But again, just defending Robert Elson, to be honest, the trouble is with our game, it has always been since it came in, since it started, it's all self-interest. That's what it is. No, you know, Wigan could care less about Saints don't care less about Warrington don't care less about Leeds don't care less about Cass. It's all self-interest.
Which is why you need somebody above that.
Yeah, well, they've employed somebody above that now, but still, he's not in charge. It's still the 12 teams in charge, so that is a big problem. That's where it falls down.
And to me, the amount of money that the clubs now get from central funding means that they don't need to say. That their job is to go out and make as much additional money that they can to keep their business going in the knowledge that the players that play for them are all paid for now. Why do they need to say the running of the game?
Duplication of resources.
Well, it's
duplication of limited resources.
And will now, then the RFL come out and say something about yesterday, because we've got the semi-finals of the League One competition, in which Newcastle brilliant have to play Doncaster again next week because Doncaster lost at Oldham. Doncaster winning at Newcastle last week have to go back to Newcastle because the seedings don't change after the first week. So we get a repeat fixture. But Newcastle are through because they played against a team who had 14 players in the semi-finals of the playoffs, which have been set in stone from the start of the season. Now, Workington had a very legitimate excuse last season in the fact that someone completely cocked up and thought, well, actually we're going to invent some more playoffs. And they ran out of players because they all booked holidays, which is fair enough.
Yeah, it's fair enough. You know, they are part-time players.
It's not your fault. We felt very sorry for Leon Price, who's put in an impossible position. This year, they've run out of players again. How can that happen? Do they not have reserves? Do they not have... How can that happen? Do they not have reserves? Do they not have an academy?
Well, surely as well, you shouldn't be allowed to enter the playoffs unless you can fulfil the playoffs. So North Wales Crusaders should have been told, if you can get 17 players guaranteed for 4 weeks in succession, you're in.
Why did they not have 17 players?
Completely undermines. Completely undermines.
They're all injured, unavailable.
No, the reason why they didn't have 17 players, the Stag do.
Who's?
Well, it must be one of the somebody's there, but yeah, the players, because there weren't enough Stag do. I know that from one of the.
Is that legitimate? I don't want to weigh in on Workington and that not be the case.
It's legitimate.
But it worries me they can't get 17 players.
Because as you know, I text plenty of people at the weekend, wish them all the best, and I do. Somebody there at Workington, and he just said to me, it's going to be tough, Scotty, because we've only got 13 players, and they ended up 13. I said, bloody hell, why is that? They know the season hasn't ended. Stag do.
Professional. And that's a game that's professional. And that's a game that's broadcast on the sponsor's Facebook page. So the sponsor who puts some money into the game are rewarded with a team turning up with one sub. In a game like Rugby League where you actually need bodies. I know Brian McDermott never uses all these subs, but he's Brian McDermott.
Yeah.
He doesn't look great. But we're supposed to use words like
brave. But again, that leads into why are people not going to watch playoff games?
Can't call them brave.
I want to make a point anyway. Bill Cole made a good point. I think this is something we need to look at. And we ask people, why did you not go to a game this week? Tell us why on Twitter or whatever. If you're a Cass fan, for instance, and Cass are away from home, so what you find away from home, you dedicate fans to go, come what may. But if you're a Cass fan, you've got Warrington this week, you've got Salford on Thursday. Great thing by the club, by the way, to pay for the travel, etc. Brilliant from Cass. Great idea, great from everyone at the club, well done for doing that. But as a fan, if you've got to go, you didn't get one of the freebies, you've got to go to Salford. Then the week after, you're probably going to have to go, you are going to have to go to Wigan or St Helens. That's 3 away days on the trot. And then you're going to go to Old Trafford. So that's 4 successive weekends you go to a game. Ticket cost, even if you say it was 20 quid, I'm sure it'd be more than that. But 20 quid, that's 80 quid. It'd be more than that for the grand final. 100 quid minimum. Plus your costs, plus a few beers, plus probably a bit of time off work, plus your programme, plus something to eat. 300 quid. I'll go 300 quid it costs you all in to get to all those 4 games.
Within a month.
Within a month.
Unbudgeted.
And also, Cass have just brought out the season ticket. I'm not picking on Cass, I'm using him as an example. Cass have brought out the season tickets. So you think, oh, 300 here, but I want my season ticket. So if I buy it now, I get it cheaper. So do I buy a season? Oh, and then the wife wants one. And then the 2 kids want one. And all of a sudden we're asking people to pay a hell of a lot of money.
New kit will be out.
New kit will be out in a week or a month or 2 when they're, you know. So that's when you're away from home. If you're at home, it's still the same cost to pay to go to the game. All right, you might have the travel costs or whatever, but you might have a few more pints because you go, you walk to the game. It's a horrendous experience. It's a horrendous
Well, I
cost.
think you also need to add into that the nature of our domestic season has changed. So you're going to have a trip to Catalan.
Yeah.
You might have a trip to the semi-final doubleheader at Bolton.
Yeah.
You might have a trip to Wembley.
Yeah.
You've got a trip to the Magic weekend.
Yeah.
You add in all of those costs across a season.
Yeah.
It's a hell of an expensive sport.
So what do we do? I've been thinking about this. What do you do as a club? Do you say, right, what we're going to do, this is a season ticket price, right, and they're going to be 40 quid more this year, the season ticket, but you're guaranteed if we get in the playoffs, the first 2 games, part of season ticket. If we don't get in the playoffs, what we'll do is we'll give you 40 quid back on next year's season, so you get it for 40 quid less, whatever. I'm sure there's a way you can do it. Because I cannot believe Warrington can't get more than 5,600.
I think there's 2 other issues here. I think one is we have become such a season ticket culture. All of the clubs do great work promoting the idea that they want you to become members of the club. So the actual value for watching a game these days on a regular weekly basis or every other week at home is comparatively cheap. Is comparatively cheap. I don't know if you're paying, let's say, £15 a game effectively, instead of maybe 25. So we have created this bulk of games throughout the season that are really cheap. Probably too cheap. So when it comes to the end of the season and you go, we got to pay for these games. Well, how much do I have to pay? You have to pay £25. You go, well, what I'll do is I'll wait and see if we get to Old Trafford. Because that is disproportionately
Your perfect example
expensive.
there is when Bradford City started doing their cheap 100 quid season ticket. The first year I didn't get one. And then I thought, I want to go to the games. Oh, it's 25 quid. I'm like, I could have bought a season ticket for 100 quid. Why am I going to pay 20? And then you end up not going. So the year after, I bought stuff that I'll buy the ticket and never went anywhere. So they had 100, I think it was 150 quid. So they got the money and I didn't go. But I'm like you, I was like, why am I going to pay 25 quid?
Disproportionately expensive.
And then, without being rude, they're all on the TV.
Yes.
So you're thinking, it's chucking down outside, I'm a bit cold, I might go to the pub with the lads and watch it, have 6 pints by the time, have 6 pints by the time I've done the game.
But there is another issue, and it's a flaw with the top 5. And the top 5 is great, but the problem is we are gearing up for Salford going back to Wigan, and for Wigan and St Helens playing each other twice in 3 weeks. And we've had however many Warrington Castleford games this year. It doesn't work because we have got this thing called spectator fatigue. And because you can have repeat fixtures, and the classic one this week is Newcastle and Doncaster, played 2 weeks ago. Who's going to go and watch that again?
Can I ask a question here?
Now,
and this is a question I had about yesterday's game in Toronto. Donny won it at Newcastle. Should Donny not be at home there? Because they won at your ground, then they've won the home
But it goes back to Toulouse as well. Toulouse travel all the way to Toronto.
Well, that's my. If you'd have said yesterday, if you win here, you're going to be over in the final. Then
you
that's
lose
a
the right
thing,
to be
isn't
out.
it?
There's a dynamic.
Yeah.
But what we've got is Toulouse, who lost heavily last week, hoping to go back there in a fortnight's time.
Yeah.
And we wonder why neutral fans don't go to these games.
Is it no coincidence then that Featherston took a big following to York? Could have been the last game of the season. They're not going to get to see him at Post Office Road this season. You either go or you miss out. Cass similar. They're not going to play at the Jungle now. You're either coming on the road or we don't see you again. They're going to Salford. All right, they are going to get a home time, but their support. There were more Wigan fans, more Salford fans at Wigan than there have been at Salford this year, I reckon. In some games.
But the other thing is, you talk quite rightly about Featherston. How do their fans now pay for a trip to Toulouse and possibly a week's notice a trip to Toronto.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
How
I mean, there
many-
must be quite a few
how-
going because I noticed the
But
flight
how
was
many
sold
of
out
them
this
can
morning.
do it?
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
you know,
I agree.
fantastic. Whoever's
So
doing
you said
it,
you've just been to
magnificent.
Lee and done in 100.
Yeah.
You bet a yacht, done another 100. So went on the train and went round town, had a few
And now you've
beers.
got to get a couple
Now
of
you've got to
flights.
get to Toulouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I think in some ways that's the nature. The Championship's where it is. Who knows where you're going to go? But that's an extreme
We
example.
all we need to have a look at the whole package because all we're doing at the moment is inconveniencing supporters.
Yeah, I do. I think they need to say, right, the first two are in with your season ticket. If we don't get in the playoffs, then you'll get your money back next season. And if you
Or
buy in season ticket,
If we get a home tie in the Challenge Cup, you can use one of those extra games in the Challenge Cup if you want.
yeah, maybe.
So however you do it, but yet it starts by shortening the season
Yeah,
and not playing the same teams.
yeah.
50. You know, I think we might end up with a Wigan St Helens final, but that will come, 2 weeks after the last Wigan St Helens game. Plus, we've been told all year it's the biggest derby in the sport, so they'll play each other 4 or 5 times this year. As a neutral, you'll sit home and watch it on the telly. You won't go. I tell you what, I'm so looking forward to this because they only play each other once or twice a year. I've got to be there.
But to be honest with you, people have been looking for if it is Wigan Saints, it's Wigan Saints. So simple as that. Will you be interested in watching it and going?
I'd be interested in watching it, but would I go? Probably not. We're lucky because if we go,
Well, working, yeah.
But if somebody said to me, "Do you want to go and watch Wigan Saints this week?" It'll cost you overall with your diesel and your match entry and maybe a pie and a pint, 50 quid. I'll be going, probably watch it on the telly if you want.
50 quid, where you going to sit in car park?
But,
You go to Old Trafford, you know.
no, I'm talking about if you go into the game at Saints.
Oh, sorry,
Never mind
right,
Old Trafford.
right.
That'll be another 100 quid on top of that. I just think we've got it wrong. And it starts with the number of fixtures.
You got
Well,
to wait
I
for a
think
PDRL game as well.
Well, it had to be a worry. Like certainly last week, it wasn't in a game. We mentioned Robert Elston 5 or 6 minutes ago regarding he wanted grounds full and he wanted atmosphere from there. Well, you look at this weekend's crowds, just short 10,000 at Wigan and 5,700 at Warrington. Massive issue.
And again,
It
you
is.
can't compare it with the NRL.
No.
No.
Because Sydney's quite big.
No.
I've seen it
No,
on telly.
but their
Warrington's not.
playoff format, and it's not a top 5, it's a top 8, which works when you've got 16 clubs. You can manipulate the fixtures so that you never play the same team twice. So everybody is ridiculously excited about this weekend's fixtures because one of them is a repeat of last year's grand final, which was, everybody wants to see the Roosters in Melbourne. But they also know that playing them in the grand final will be either Canberra, who haven't been there for, nearly 20 years, and South, who is
89, is it?
is 90. It's
England versus
this
England.
is great
All those
stuff.
at foreign.
Yeah.
It's nice
But
England
all of a
versus England.
sudden, if you're a neutral rugby league fan
Yeah.
and your team's been knocked out, you try and get to those games.
Well, can you believe this?
But we don't have that pull.
Well, can you believe this? And again, because we've felt it a few times, the respect I get more in Australia than what I do over here. And I had a guy from Australia phone this morning from Fox Sports to talk about and to build the game up because of the English guys who were playing. Yeah, so it was John Davis's friend who phoned this morning. The guy who's moved it. He's from Huddersfield, I forgot his bloody well name now, to be honest with you.
George Clark.
I forgot. I couldn't say yes or no. But anyway, so he phoned me this morning about 8 o'clock and did a big piece out there, because of the English connection with South and the way that the boys are going there at Canberra. But I'm getting phone calls 12,000 miles away to promote the game down there. Ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous.
Yeah. What's
So,
happening?
Everyone's
what's
having an
this?
argument about who's making less money, Warrington or Saints. To which the answer is, I couldn't care less.
No, but the point that we haven't made tonight that we perhaps should is the biggest worry for the sport is that our most successful club, as in the club that are the defending champions, have made their biggest loss.
What was the injury to Blake Austin? Has anything come out yet? Do we know?
Knee, but
gonna be back,
expected to be fit for the tour. You'll be pleased to.
Well, he's getting pictures indefinitely, is he?
Well, if selected.
Even the way he's been playing.
The excitement of the Great Britain tour. It's coming soon. I can't wait for Great Britain versus Tonga. Smash him. Other than that, people generally coming up with ideas. £10 tickets across the board for the playoff games, whatever. It's strange, isn't it? We're having to undersell the value of the playoffs, which are the most important games of the season, to get a crowd in because people don't get in because they've got the tickets for the rest of the season.
But the playoffs are organised by Super League, not the clubs. So that is their source of income.
I don't know. I'm kind of lost. Don't forget you get 2 t-shirts for a tenner.
Well
There.
spotted.
England Mile High Supporters t-shirts. Got the link on the YouTube till midnight tonight. Use the promo code Mile High Stadium, which of course is where the Denver Broncos play and where England and New Zealand played. Make some money out of this. Steve Masco's the only person making money out of this test match. Buy your t-shirts now too for a test. We might make some as well. Pennies on the dollar we're making. I'm looking forward. I'm actually looking forward to that South Canberra game because I don't really care about the NRL. It's on too early in the morning for me and my lifestyle. But this is like it's all the England people, all the famous people I've heard of, and a load of Aussies battering each other. Brilliant.
Fair dues. Right, we're doing our predictions.
I think
We're going early, or we'll do it now.
We did League One last week. So I don't know if you have
We'll start with League One then.
Yeah, we have to do them all.
Newcastle, who beat Workington last week, they're at home to Donny, who were narrowly beaten by Oldham, 22 points to 12. Tough one that for Donny, but they're still alive. They got to Newcastle, 5 points between them in the league, and as we said, Doncaster won at Newcastle earlier in the playoffs. What do you reckon? Newcastle going to win again, Scully?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. No, we're a bit surprised. I felt as though week before last at Doncaster beat them up there. So Newcastle pretty ambitious. They want to keep moving forward at quite a rate of knots. To be honest with you, the noise what are coming out there. So maybe a game too far this one for Doncaster. So I'll go for Newcastle to turn it around. I'll go Newcastle by 10.
I think we said last week that Newcastle got a wake-up call. That I think they'd gone into the playoffs probably as favourites, even though they were a point behind Oldham. But that defeat by Doncaster told them that they couldn't take anything for granted. I think they did hit back. I know Workington only had 14 men, but Newcastle were pretty dominant from the highlights that I saw. I think they will extract revenge on Doncaster. I think they want to go to Oldham and at least get the chance of a tilt at promotion. So I think it will be closer. We've underestimated Doncaster too much this year, and they clearly have a team spirit there. But I'm going Newcastle by 8.
Richard?
I'm hoping that when we get to the League One £25 playoff game in a couple of weeks' time, that someone finds some money to get some scaffolding to put the cameras on at Oldham to make the pitch look better. Because it looked awful on the stream yesterday. Really tin pot. And I know I'm saying that as a Wakefield fan, don't care. Newcastle, I think are going to edge it, but you've got to be concerned, haven't you? The fact that they played 14 men yesterday and didn't blow Workington off the park as much as they probably should do when you're playing against 14 men. And Doncaster beat them a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why I'm going for Newcastle, but I am. Newcastle by 6.
I'm going to go Donny. I think Donny, having gone there and won, I actually thought Oldham had a real chance of going up automatically this year. So I actually think that was a tough game, especially back-to-back away games. I know they're away again this week, Donny, but I think they went and proved they could do a job on Newcastle. You know, Working at 14 men yesterday, and they still only lost by 20. You know, we talk about change. Fui Moyo, was he 40 years old, played 80 minutes? No, come on, when did he last do that? You know, he must have been knackered, the guy.
But presumably, if you know you've done enough to win, doesn't matter by how many you win if you know you're playing the next week.
Yeah. No, that's a very fair point. I'd also be thinking you want to be playing the best you can, knowing that you've got a game coming up. But I'm going to go Donny. I think Donny will do it again. They've done all right quietly, Doncaster, this year. They had a bit of a wobbly start. They've done all right.
Good old Ringy.
Only conceded 309 points. Second best defence in the league. Best defence in the teams in the playoffs. Defence wins your big games. I think they'll win. Donny by 6. Right, that is our League One game. We'll go to the Championship now. Toulouse against Featherston. This game's on Sunday. Met a couple of weeks ago, controversial game. Toulouse just held on at the end. Featherston thought they did enough to win it. They didn't. Toulouse second in the Championship. Featherston from 5th. Featherston, with Leeds players, going to do a Leeds. Scully.
You can't rule it out, can you? They've got the players who know what the big game experience is all about. They're smart. They know exactly what they have to do from there. They're a team. Individuals know the job. As a team, collectively, they know what they're doing. The contribution from their quality individuals. If they need to change it, certainly with Dane Chisholm, who for me is up there with the best players in the league. Toulouse, they'll be looking to bounce back, won't they, after a very indifferent performance over at Toronto. You know, at times they were good, but then at times they were awful. And if they put in a performance where they perform awful for the minutes what they did against Toronto, then Featherston will turn them over, because I think Featherston will go there with a game plan, as I say. They will stick to that game plan for the full 80 minutes. And if they can frustrate Toulouse, get into a force of a few mistakes from there, then yeah, there could be a surprise here. And I'm going with Featherston. I am. I'm going with the flat cappers, and I've got to add as well one of the big flat cappers. And to be honest with you, I worked with him when I worked for Mark Campbell a couple of years ago. A guy called Mark Scofford, and he passed away at the weekend, diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks ago, and lasted just 2 weeks. And yeah, very, very sad. So, you know, Mark will be looking down on his Featherston club. He's looking down on the Featherston players. Come on, lads! You know, another performance if you wouldn't mind from there. I'm going Featherston to frustrate Toulouse, take the opportunities when they come along. I don't think there'll be much in. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game, to be honest with you. But I'm going Featherston by 7.
It's a very compelling argument, and I think the one thing that will hamper Toulouse more than anything is that they've got to cope with a flight back from Toronto, so it makes it a really short turnaround for them. But I watched that game last night and thought, what incentive is there really for Toulouse? Go out there, do a bit of reconnaissance, give Toronto a couple of things to think about, but you're not frying your fish this week. That's coming in 2 weeks' time, if you can get back there. And I think you look at key men in teams and...
Named a very strong side, if
he
you're
did.
going to have a look round.
He did, but I looked at people like Jonathan Ford, and that was one of the less impressive displays I've seen him put in recent times. Now, it looked like he might have taken a whack in the back early on, and he may have thought, I'll just preserve myself. But I just thought that was a very un-Toulouse-like performance in the first half. It was almost as if we need to take their guys out there because we have to fulfil this fixture. We'll treat it with respect because these guys will be the ones that are coming back in a fortnight's time. But there comes a point in every game that if you know you're not going to win it, and I think they knew at half-time they couldn't possibly... In fact, if Toronto kicked all their goals, it would have been over after about 25 minutes. That Toulouse preserved themselves. And I think that's probably what's going to carry them through this week. I think it's to their advantage that the game doesn't kick off till 6:30 on Sunday. That gives them maximum recovery time that you could possibly have. Don't know what the weather's going to be like. I think if it is the kind of temperatures it was against York, that favours Toulouse. I think the forecast this week is it's going to be unsettled across Europe, so the likelihood is in the evening. I just think that the one thing that Toulouse have got that Featherston haven't is a bit more flair. That Featherston are structured, they're disciplined, they'll play for each other, they won't make many mistakes. But when you get down to games like this, you've got to have somebody that can break it. And the one thing that Toulouse did at the end of that match against Toronto was they didn't stop playing. And that Carella's third try was arguably the best crafted try of all of the ones that we saw. They still played. And I think at home, with the prospect of going back to Toronto, who I think in their mind Toulouse know they can beat.
No, they haven't, but they're only
because they've got the game that I think Toulouse will just do enough to claw a victory against Featherston and probably will win it by 2.
Something in my mind thinks there's a great story in massive metropolitan city Toronto playing Pit Village without the Pit Fev for a place in Super League when it potentially might not be a place in Super League because we don't know what's happening. I do enjoy watching Toulouse and the way they play, but I am going to side with Featherston Rovers. There's something about them. I thought they'd lose at York because I'm an idiot, and I was surprised by how well they played on Saturday, or how much they blew them away in the second half because they were superb. And what a signing Dane Chisholm has been for Fev, and you know, I've taken the mick out of their use of dual reg release, but they've done it the right way, haven't they? And it's been a benefit to both parties, on and off the field, players and coaches. So I'm going to give the edge to Featherston. Ashton Golding hat-trick to celebrate his move to Huddersfield. Unless you're watching this and it's not been announced, and you know, I'll just read what he says in the papers. Featherston by 4.
I think this is going to go all the way. I think this is going to a golden point. I think it's so tight. I agree with what you said, Phil. They have got some match-winning players. There's some really good players of Toulouse, but there's just something about Featherston. I don't know whether it's the fury of being denied right at the end against Toulouse a few weeks ago, when that is going to give them a hell of a score to settle. That would have completely turned around the route of this playoff map. And I just think there's a point to prove for Fev, and I think they'll go to Toulouse and really take it to them. It's not going to be easy. Featherston will be aggressive, hard-working. They'll have to cope with some good rugby being thrown at them, but I think if it gets into a scrap, I think Featherston will. I think they're battle-hardened. They've had 3 really tough games on the trot. I know Toulouse have had a tough run at the end of the season as well, but Fev going away from home and winning at Leigh and York, the 2 teams directly above them, they'll fancy it with Toulouse. I think they lost both league games to them only just. I think 1 by 6 and 1 by 2. I think Fev will win. I'm going golden point Fev to win. It'll be Dane Chisholm drop goal. I'll tell you now. Dane Chisholm is going to win it for Fev in golden point. There you go. Right, let's have a look at Super League then. We'll start on Thursday. Salford against Castleford. Winner goes through. Loser goes home. Gary Schofield.
Looking forward to this one, very much so. 2 coaches who know how to play the game the right way. One with a show, they know that the forwards will lay the foundation. I think the 2 packs are ripping into each other here. I don't think there'll be anything given at all with the 2 pack of forwards. And I'm looking at the big one here now in Lee Waters, the back of League Weekly, and he'll be looking to set the right example again. Castleford will be expecting the big game players to step up again, and Salford's reliance for me is too much on Jackson Hastings. I think Cass will be making sure they do a job on him. It wouldn't surprise me if Adam Milner's not starting out for Cass and he does the job of looking after Jackson Hastings, if I'm honest with you, from there. Cass fancied this. Cass have fancied the playoffs for a few weeks. Going there with plenty of confidence. The players are happy. They've got a smile on their face from there. Darryl Powell has set the challenge for his players after what's happened over the last 2 years. We know what happened in 17 last year. They went out in the first round. Cass fancy it this year. They fancy it. Salford were magnificent last week against Wigan. Is this maybe a game too far? I think it could be. I fancy Cass. And again, I'm going Castleford, and I'm going Castleford by 7.
This is just so intriguing because Ian Watson, you could tell, was incredibly proud of the effort his players put in, but slightly disappointed at the errors that they made. And he kept talking about, we need to learn from it. But I don't know how much you can learn in less than a week, because you don't have the time necessarily to change too much. It's about survival this time of the year. And I don't know how much that game at Wigan took out of Salford. I know that they'll have a passionate backing. I know that early on in the game they'll play with an intensity like they did against Wigan, and if they score early, which they couldn't do at the DW, I think they have a chance of going on and winning it. But if they don't score, I genuinely don't know how much energy there is left in this Salford team. It's been a fantastic ride. They've overachieved. They're determined to go down fighting. We don't know if Jackson Hastings is going to play. We know that there's a bit of an injury doubt at the moment.
He'll play if he has a bloody Captain Bird's eye patch on.
But we don't know how effective he'll be if he's resting all week and just coming in at the end. I don't know. What I do know is that Cass have got the ingredients to take them to at least the next game. This Cass team reminds me of the one in 1999, who made the playoffs and nothing was expected of them. They had a group of players that had a fantastic work ethic. Probably got this wrong, but I think they went to Leeds and won. And then I think in Wigan's first defeat at the DW Stadium. And then I think they played St Helens in the game leading to Old Trafford, and they were winning at half time. It was very close at half time, and they fell away in the second half. There's a touch of that team about this one 20 years on, and I think Darryl Powell can harness that. And whilst I would like to see Salford have a chance to go back to the DW Stadium if St Helens beat Wigan as as I think they might, and I'd like to see that from a neutral's point of view. I've just got a feeling that Cass have got something about them to get over this hurdle, which is not to say they can get over the next one, but I think if Cass hold in there for the opening half an hour, then they'll do like they did at Warrington and they'll win a very narrow match by a couple of points.
Bad news for Cass is they're playing Salford this week, and last week they played a bang out of form Warrington side who haven't been good for a while. Salford had a free goal last week, didn't they? They knew they could go to the DW, have a go, see what happened, and knew they'd have another go this week. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's going to be a big crowd. You know, we talk about the crowd figures, and when I say big, I mean relatively for Salford, because people are buying into this, and we know there's going to be lots from Cass there. We know there's going to be plenty of noise from Salford. This could be a hell of an atmosphere. I think I'm going to have to side with Salford just because they have been the better team over the 29 weekly rounds. Because a lot of games, isn't it? But narrowly, again, I'm going to go for Salford by 2.
I'm glad you said that, because I was like thinking, oh, I don't want us all to go against Salford, because we all know what happens when we go against Salford, they win.
And we get slaughtered.
We're like Jeremy Corbyn. We haven't got a position either way. We're in the middle on this.
Rich, you've got your Cass shirt as well.
Well, no. Yeah, I'm not really a Cass on. I'm a kiss the badge.
You've got your Cass shirt on, you've gone for Salford.
He ain't getting out of here tonight.
Have you been on the syrup already?
I'm on Cody, I've got a bad back.
Okay.
Carrying you lot last week.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. That was bad back when we finished kicking you in the car. Salford were great last week, and not many go to Wigan and push them that close. Cass tried it the week before and didn't get anywhere near as Salford got. Can they back that up? I thought Cass would lose last week. I didn't think they'd win, but the one thing about Cass that makes me think they can win is their defence. They haven't conceded hardly any tries in the last 6 weeks. You know, Saints lost 4-0, went to Wigan, alright, lost a couple of tries second half, but I think defensively Cass have got enough. The worry I have about Cass is their attack. And what I do think is Salford will score some points. Can they back it up? Yeah, I think they can. They won 8 games on the spin. That shows they can back it up. I think it's going to be narrow. I genuinely, I have no issue with who wins this game. I think the best team, and I think, I'm going to say it now, that the team that wins has got a good chance of getting to the grand final. So I'm going to go Salford, because I think on another day last week they might have won that game, and not many teams go to Wigan and win. So I am going to say Salford.
But it's that tight, isn't it, this game? It's that tight. You get. You know,
It is. Honestly, I could see Cass going and winning, and you know Salford.
Yeah, there's not going to be much in it.
No.
I can see one of these teams possibly running out away with it late on, because that happens in play.
Maybe.
But I don't
Yeah.
know which one.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Neither of them get blown away. You know, even Salford, when they were losing early, they were only losing by the odd try and there. Same for Cass. Even when they've been pretty ordinary, they very rarely get hammered.
Do you know what as well?
I
reckon as well, the talk in the dressing room from both these sides will be, we don't want our season to end on Thursday.
Yeah.
That will be a big saying in both dressing rooms. We don't want our season to end on Thursday, and we don't want Mad Monday next Monday. So we can leave that for another couple of weeks.
All right, fair enough.
We've gone for Salford now, which means Luke Gale to Leeds will be announced on Friday or Monday next week.
It will. And the last game is on Friday. Saints against Wigan, placing the grand final away. Saints league leaders, 3 defeats all season. The only team who have beaten Wigan in the last 14 games, I think. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I can't see Saints getting beat, to be honest with you, from there. They've had a week off, and I want to make sure that they can handle the pressure. Wigan, yeah, we know what Wigan are going to bring. You know, the experience are there, we know the DNA from there, but I just feel as though St Helens, they have to win. Anyway, they have to win, because if not, it's massive pressure the week after to get to Old Trafford, and then the pressure is winning it. So Saints have to win this one, and I think they will. Wigan know, you know, that they've got they'll have a second bite of the cherry with it's Salford or Wigan coming back to the DW from there. I just think Saints are ready for this. They are prepared for this. They want another week off. They want to get ready for the grand final. They have been the best team all season. I'll go to St Helens by 14.
The interesting thing for me was something that Justin Holbrook said when he was on Sky, because he was quite right. He said that, you know, the week off is whatever you want it to be. It either will work for you or it can work against you. But the one thing he said that I hadn't fully appreciated until he said it was they have played 33 weeks straight, because they've played every round of the cup, including the final, and all of the league fixtures. That week off could not have come at a better time for St Helens. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you're James Roby or a young kid coming through the ranks. To play so much intense rugby week in, week out, to have a week off now is massive. So I think that will have primed St Helens. I think they will have been able to totally focus on this game. It's at home. They can reward their fans for their loyalty. They can book, as you said, it's a bit like taking a bit of pressure off. They can book a place at Old Trafford in the knowledge that they've got an extra week to prepare for it. Wigan are skilled enough in playoff football to know that they can get to Old Trafford whether they win this week or not, because they've got everything they need to get to Old Trafford. And I suspect that this is probably a game too far for Wigan. They'll be ultra competitive, but they don't need to win it. And I suspect that Saints will start at a level of intensity, and Wigan will still have the feeling of that game against Salford. That was as physical a game as I've seen this season. That was forwards belting each other for 80 minutes.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I think that will catch up with Wigan this week, that Saints will play the way Saints do. They'll score early, they'll go on and win it, probably win it by 12, and then everybody else can fight out to see who plays Saints at Old Trafford.
Thank goodness this game's on TV, because I couldn't have quoted another 700 million articles saying why this game has to be on TV and not OKR versus Leeds or whatever. Those were the great highlights of the 2019 season. Saints, just what a job Adrian Lam has done in turning Wigan around from the shambles they were midway through the season, when Wakefield tore them apart with David Fafita marauding down the wing, to the team who finished second, and Adrian Lam's not on the shortlist for the Coach of the Year. That is a disgrace, but Saints will win this one by 8.
St Helens need to win a big game. This isn't a big game, because there's always next week for them, right? They'll win, right? And they'll win because Wigan know, don't matter what happens on, don't matter what happens. Wigan could go there and win by 50. It's not a grand final, it doesn't matter. They could lose by 50 and rock up 2 weeks and still beat them. I think Saints, I give you the interesting one, someone's just mentioned the weather, it's got to rain all week, could be a bit of a leveller, but right. I think Saints will come out and win the game, because I get what Scott's saying, if they don't win there's massive pressure on the week after, but I think they'll win. I think they'll win. I think Wigan will win the grand final. I genuinely do. I've said that. We saw them 2-3 months ago, and I said that they're going to win the grand final. I think they will. They lost to St Helens, the only team that beat them in 14. Didn't mean anything. Just meant Saints were 16 clear rather than 12 clear if Wigan had won. Meant nothing in the grand scheme of it. Wigan will go there. They'll give it everything. They always do. They might have a few bumps and bruises. They'll know they've got 2 big games ahead of them. I think Saints will win. It'll be tight, because I don't think there'll be a lot of points in it. I'll go for Saints by 4. That's it. Done. Dusted. We've run over again, so we'll let you go. Thank you for your time. Thanks for getting in touch. Thanks for downloading the podcast. Keep downloading if you would.
Especially if you're in Uzbekistan.
Yeah, if you're in Uzbekistan or India. We need a few more listeners in India. Thanks to Legend. Thanks to Phil. Thanks to you for watching. Thanks to Rich. And he'll be wearing that cash shirt again next week when they beat Salford.
It does suit him.
It does.
Don't know
Fits
why.
him well.
It looks well in it.